imperative that we try to figure out how we can impact things with the zeitgeist in our local communities, whether that's via politics, education, the commercial spaces, whatever we can do to try and make a difference and just bring these ideas to more and more people. And so, Isan, big call out, because I know you were out there, hitting the pavement, as they would say, and trying to do something on the political front. So God love you to that and for that, my friend. So sorry, Joanne, I just wanted to call that out for him.
Oh, man, I appreciate that so much, man. I was also thinking this. I was like, I remember, waking up and, doing this, this was, my full-time thing. I wasn't working. I wasn't doing anything other than campaigning at the time. And I remember thinking, I was like, this is such a, I was going for it because I just thought, there was no other answer, that there's no other, way to really fight this system. And even if I knew that I was, I was running up against there's no chance I was gonna make it. I was under there was no way. But I also thought that was something that I had to do, because if I had to at least get to the point where I was like, okay, I'm gonna do this because I want to make this normal. I want normal people to run for office and be like, hey, look, he was able to get this far. Maybe I can do it too. And now that I look back on it, you got Andrew Baker running, you got Fishgate, you got Fishgate guy, you got Matt DeWelder running for agricultural commissioner in Florida. You have all of these guys who are young guys that are actually running for office, and they're all based, and I love that, because I feel like, Ron's not, whatever part I play, maybe I didn't play any part, but I feel like I played a part in it, in them all running, and these young guys getting into the political arena now. And I feel like everything that I did was so worth it, because I'm seeing it happen. The whole conversation is completely shifted. There's more people that think like I do than there was any at the time when I was running for office. I was the only one that was like, yeah, what the fuck? This Israel stuff doesn't make any sense. And I was in this for this TV station. There was 6 of us there, and then they asked this question about Israel, what they're doing in Gaza, and everyone's like, oh yeah, I support Israel, I support Israel. And so it came to me, and I was like, yo, what are you talking about? If a person shot at me and ran into a school building, I'm not gonna fucking blow up the entire school to get this guy. It makes, what are you guys saying? They're supposed to be the most advanced military in the world. I was the only guy saying it. Now everyone is saying it. I love that, because I feel like the conversation's completely shifted in 2 years, and I think it has everything to do with you guys, the work that you guys put in, the information you guys put out. That's how it gets out, and I'm so grateful for all of it. And God bless them, and Godspeed.
I love that, and you're exactly right. The amount of velocity that has been picked up in the last 2 years, it's unbelievable. And the craziest part about it is, in some ways, we could look at this and think that we have hit terminal velocity on this conversation, and we're in free fall. The machine is falling apart. The reality, folks, if this is the snowball that's going to become the avalanche, we are still in the early phases of the Frosty the Snowman snowball-sized thing going down the mountain. And as it picks up more and more and more velocity, we are 5% the descent, maybe 2%, maybe 1%. As it picks up speed, it picks up additional, let's say, voices, additional amplifiers, and as we do, we go through and we learn more truths, like the one that we learned in this space with Gen X girl presenting the literal subversion of the priests who are being shipped overseas for literal indoctrination so they can come back and tell all their parishioners that they need to support Israel. That is wild. Did not know the extent of this, did not know that it was massively organized, did not know that they're expecting to 10 to 20x the number of people that they have participating in this program next year. That is crazy. Our nation is essentially subverted. And when I say our, it's not just the United States, it's the entirety of Western Europe. And so as more and more people notice and the voice gets louder and louder, a lot of those that we talked about this once upon a time that are open-minded, but they were just a little uncomfortable, well, they're certainly going to join our ranks, as will eventually even those that currently call us anti-Semites because they don't know anything different because they've been so propagandized. And so it will just pick up more and more speed. It will become more and more unstoppable. And the next thing you know, Isan, you're going to be looking back a couple years down the line and being able to say to yourself, I was one of the first people trying to, in the political sphere, talk about these things that are now mainstream. It's going to be wild to witness, and the people in control are going to desperately try to censor any and all conversations by monopolizing everything, and as they do it, more and more people are like, well, wait a second, control everything and censor everything and criminalize the act of commenting on these things, maybe those crazy guys are right. And so we are unstoppable at this point, folks. We have hit not terminal velocity, we've hit escape velocity. They have no ability to put this back into the bottle. If they do, it further exposes the control. If they don't, we reach more ears. Either way, we will win. We just got to keep doing what we're doing and put in the reps every single day. Go for it, Jared.
So real quick, for the Christian Zionists, this is what I just don't understand. These people basically worship Jews. And it doesn't matter if the Jew, actually practices Judaism or is just an atheist, an ethnic or racial Jew. They're basically worshiping the tribe. It doesn't matter to them. They would rather lift up those people than the Palestinians, who are genetically, at least as genetically connected to the ancient Hebrews as the European Ashkenazi people are. And I just wish we could find some way to confront them with this reality. Why are you letting some atheist from Brooklyn go over there and claim they're God's chosen people? How is that any different than a Palestinian who is not Christian or Muslim, but is genetically connected to the ancient Hebrews? It's just so bizarre to me. Hello?
Yeah, no, it is super bizarre, and I agree with you, Jared. And let's go to our next hand, and we do have a lot of hands right now. So let's try to keep it short so that everyone can talk, and thank you so much. All right, Congressman, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Joanne. Ian, you're on fire today. Seriously, man. Thank you for that. That IQ thing you brought in, that just really gives out perspective. And this is what it is. This is the bottom line. This is what exactly. And if you actually weigh in, pretty much anybody on this, whatever Ian said today, was you'll be able to actually figure it out where everybody stands and where the problem is. The issue is that. Yes, I hear a lot of, and especially in your second burst out, in terms of actual hope and how this thing is going to actually evolve into something really greater. And thank you for that. We need that in troubled times. And we need those reminders. But you know what? There was more difficult task earlier on. If you can actually shift the narrative from who killed Jesus, Jews killed Jesus, to Jesus himself was a Jew, that was more difficult task. And then now it's going to be not easier to actually get this uphill task to kind of spread this out. But I'm really hopeful. Everybody is hopeful. But what really sad part is that it took 50, 60,000 people to actually die and 200,000 to get injured in order for us to actually open our eyes. It was there. It was deep down somewhere, but we simply could not actually see it. And all these people had to lose their lives in order to actually get our eyes open. But that's the human history. We come out from the ashes more stronger, and that's what our job is. That whoever actually has the eye open, the inside eye open, should actually wake other people up. And Jared, don't be surprised. It's not just the Christian Zionists. You would be surprised there are so many Muslim Zionists. So this is a
Dr. Hope, who still believes in a two-state solution.
So here we go. It's not just the people in space. Literally the infiltration has gone on to the level that it's unprecedented. Literally in the past 100 years or so, this is how the whole framework has been actually come about. That you actually find a notion which is going to be kind of subtle, and then you're going to be part of the elite club, and you're going to have all these meetings, and you're just going to be part of those rubbing the shoulder with those kind of people, and then that's how you get into this, and that's what the whole narrative business is. So you'd be surprised there are more Muslims than probably the Christian ones, but they are hidden. So thank you, Ian. And Kitover, obviously. His space is kind of midnight for a lot of people, but he's an encyclopedia. I always request that please, now this Wikipedia is coming out, we have to get the truth in a textbook form, because soon this narrative business is going to actually change into something which is going to actually taint everything. And our next generation is probably won't be able to actually recognize what the actual real history was. So I think that's our responsibility to actually get not just the word out in the live environment, but also get this part of the actual textbook. And that's the biggest challenge. Thanks. Back to you, John.
That's so, Kerm, that's so well stated, and everybody should give Kerm a follow. It's always so poignant, spot on, my friend. And that is one thing that utterly terrifies me, is the digital control and manipulation, and you're even seeing it. I love listening to individuals try and break apart different themes and ideas, whether it's tech or the media, or all these different things. And one of the recent ones that I saw was a whole piece that was done on Amazon's video library, and how they are literally going back and just changing certain parts of film to suit certain narratives. And in this case, they were referring to a specific scene in a movie where it was actually a 007 reference, for anybody that might remember the character Jaws, not the shark, but the big man. And there's a romantic scene that he has, because Jaws, the reason for the name, that he's got metal teeth. That's talking about an unfortunate weapon to have to use to bite people and get all close. But so Jaws, in the movie, the man with the big metal teeth, who's the big scary monster, ends up falling in love with a woman who has braces. And the irony, the humor, the whole reason for the scene of them walking off into the sunset is because the woman has braces, and therefore they both have metal teeth, and therefore they fall in love. Except Amazon, now that they own the 007 property, decided to get rid of the braces, because I guess they found it offensive or something along those lines. So now you have a scene in a movie that makes literally zero sense. Because instead you're just like, oh, I guess the big scary monster and this woman fell in love, and they smile at each other awkwardly for reasons nobody understands. Because for the future going forward, the woman doesn't have braces anymore because it didn't suit some narrative. And what's my point is that they're going to do this to everything. Every book, every movie, everything. And it's the exact same thing that they did in Orwell's 1984, which is why they had the entire Ministry of Truth, which ironically pushed endless propaganda. Right? So that's what we are going to see, and you should not be remotely surprised that the White House now wants to put out their own version of AI that's going to be the truth AI. It will be the truth of everything. And when you say, hey, Graf, did Donald Trump convert to Judaism, or so did this newscaster say? No, never happened. Did Donald Trump's daughter marry a Jew? No, didn't happen. Did Howard Lutnick live next to Jeffrey Epstein? No, didn't happen. It's offensive that you would ask that, though. You can see where all of this will go. They will have, just like in Orwell, the ability to not only change the present or to change the past, but he who controls the past authors the present, and he who owns the present writes the future. That was Orwell, loosely quoted. That's where we're going. So we've got to note these things and notice these things and write things down. As the reference, ironically, to Orwell, what is it that's banned in Oceania? It is literally pens and pencils and paper. The individual in Winston, the main character, he has to smuggle them out so he can write on a notepad. Why? Because he has control to alter things. And in the dystopia, you don't get to do that. You just get to absorb what they tell you you're allowed to think, to hear, to see, and that you participate in your 2 minutes of hate so that you hate other people rather than noticing the people who hate you and control everything you do. So, Kerm, so well stated, beautifully eloquent, my friend. As always, I'm so humbled that you and so many others are in here. And as a last little advocation here, I get called lots of things, anti-Semite, racist, all this. I don't care where you're from. I don't care what nationality, what race, what ethnicity. All I care about is that you focus on the truth. Doesn't mean that I support the endless idea or ideology of diversity of everything, because I want to protect things that are, I don't know, cultures, right? Isn't it weird that the people who suggest that we need diversity so that we can celebrate diversity want to jam everything together and get rid of diversity? Do we ever stop to think about that for a moment? Right? So I want to protect the differences. I want to protect the differences in culture, in cuisine, in dialects, in dialogues. Isn't that what makes the world beautiful? Don't we love the fact that we can travel the world and see all these different things? Do you really want them all to be the same? Is there anything more boring than going to a foreign nation so that you between McDonald's and Starbucks? Is there anything more depressing than thinking through what that would be like? That's the future if we don't protect the idea of nations, of cultures, of heritages. And so as a result, I just welcome anybody and everybody, and Kerm, I call it out just because obviously a different dialect, and I love that, and I appreciate you for being here. And at the end of the day, the thing I care most about, truth, intellect, and intellect that is aimed at bringing that truth to the masses so we can construct a better world for everybody. That's how we ultimately win, folks. It's to love everything and everyone that merely advocate for those types of things. So lots of love, Kerm, very well stated. And I apologize, Joanne, I'm not sure. I think it was maybe Mademoiselle next, if I'm not mistaken, then maybe John and Nikki, and then King Jesus, and then what we'll do is we'll close down the space after going through all those hands.
Yes, I will just say hi to you guys. No, it was you had hands before me. No, I'm just guys, I had a break. I'm so happy to be here, and also just brilliant. Just really good to hear this. And you guys always, I love the panel. I think you guys are literally fire. And it's just interesting because I came in a bit later on. I guess I missed quite a bit. But no, I love what you're doing. I don't have anything to add right now, but you do have hands and I might add something later. But yeah, Jan, I missed you, precious. Honestly, I've been studying, it's been hectic out there, and just generally coming back, hearing you guys sitting here doing what you do best, which is sharing the truth. But not only that, you give hope. It's amazing. It's really nice to come back to this. So yeah, that's all I have to say.
I don't love it, precious. We were on the phone, and then I saw you, Ian, go into that space with the person who helped Netanyahu, and I was like, I'll call you back. I need to hear this. So yeah, no, it was amazing. I love you so much, precious. And yeah, everyone, thank you so much for being here. Please repost the space, follow Ian and just an amazing speakers. And also, there is a post in the Jumbotron that Ian is reaching guy. So guys, please like it so that we can reach you.
No, you don't have to. That one has gone. Talk about terminal velocity. That one is so far over. I feel bad for the guy at this point. It actually, the reason I was going to share that earlier, I forgot to make the point about it. Two things. Number one, I love America First. I'm not sure if he's listening right now, but under all of these posts where I just embarrass people, he puts the Tyrannosaurus roaring, which I love. But the other piece was just to suggest and showcase, look, they can continue suppressing us and censoring us and trying to lock us in our little silos, right? And then they do a decent job. I got to give them credit, isolating us from the masses. But the problem is, by doing it the way that they do it, what it does is it reinforces that our like-minded friends are the ones that are fed our content. So what does that mean? It means that it's going to be more viral amongst our people. So even if they suppress it in the algorithm, it doesn't matter, because the tiny amount of people that are going to see it are the ones that are like, let's go. And so then the next thing you know, it doesn't matter how much they suppress it. We go in a post. So they've got 15,000 views with 200 likes, and I have 6,600 views with almost 2,000 likes. I feel bad for these guys. I really do, and I didn't even write anything remotely intelligent. I just said ratio because the guy said I love being a Zionist or something, and it's so funny. Like, we are winning in spades, and I'm telling you guys, the snowball's going to go faster and faster, and the next thing you know, all of you will be writing ratio under Ben Shapiro, which can become our little mantra. Nothing remotely hateful about that word. I'm sure they're going to say that it is at some point. But all we're doing is basically tossing that word up, and Fuentes did it to Elon Musk and ratioed him like 100x. And what does it basically mean? It just means, no, what you're saying is utter garbage and everybody disagrees. And then it gets massively liked. And so to that point, Mademoiselle, that's the white pill. You cannot suppress people and censor people and hate people into loving you. That's not how this works. This is like the psychopathic girlfriend or boyfriend that's like, you will love me, as they're squeezing the person to death. That's what is happening. They have to not only control, but they also have to have us love them for trying to be tyrannical, psychopathic, totalitarian control addicts. Right? So we are going to win because our ideology is rooted in the good, It's rooted in, for what it's worth, the idea of rebellion, which has always been something that people will flock to when it is good-natured. Right? Think of every hero that you've ever admired. None of them had the easy path. There's no hero in any cinema or any literature ever that was just given the easy button and then won. In fact, speaking, because I always make Star Wars references, when Disney tried to do that, by making the making Star Wars films with the Rey character, who literally just had all of the talent and power right from the get-go. And if you don't believe that, the movie literally, the climax of it is her, the new hero, that has no training at all, literally defeating the guy who is supposed to be the super villain of all the bad guys. That's literally how the first movie of the new trilogy ended. And you wonder why it didn't do well. Why does nobody get behind that? Because having all the power and just being able to easily defeat everybody, there's nothing exciting about that. That's why the Superman character, for what it's worth, has never been really marketable in modern society. There's no uphill battle. You cheer for Batman because he's just a guy. Superman's totally unrelatable. And so when we are just people, we don't have armies. Truth and Joanne, I don't have TV studios and BlackRock pumping our messaging into everybody and saying, these guys are cool. No, we're the opposite of that. We're the little scrappy people, right? That is what we are. We are the three musketeers, and all of you are the fourth. You are all D'Artagnan, and we are going to take down the evil empire with just truth. It's romantic, it is attractive, and it is something that people will always get behind. They just have to hear it. So just keep doing what we're doing. We are going to incur so much love. Mademoiselle, we're always going to put out the white pill because there's no amount of control they can have that will ultimately defeat us as long as we refuse to give into that. That's as a last little comment. That's why they're pushing all the propaganda. That's why they're giving us, for what it's worth, X, and allowing us to think that we have a voice on here while they endlessly gaslight us. They want you, and I've seen a lot of people unfortunately do this, they want you to say, what's the point? Why participate? It doesn't matter. I can't be monetized. I can't grow my follower account. Why would I? That's what they want you to do. The thing they don't want you to do is to keep screaming into the ether. And as maddening as that may sound, that is the most romantic thing that you can do. Because when you have literally no benefit except for merely pushing for that which is righteous, that which is true, and that which is pure, you become, in a sense, Christ-like. Not Christ, but Christ-like. Because you are giving of yourself to something higher, something better, something purer, and people will always flock to that again. So just continue doing what we're doing, folks. The ether's getting more and more beautiful. More people are going to be screaming with us. And as they do, the tyrants with their Death Star are going to try to take us down every way they can. But they won't be able to, because truth is eternal. It is that fire. It is that light. And it is going to guide us all to a better tomorrow. So just keep doing
Hey, Jacob! I'm in Lincoln. Come on over. Let's get a beer.
John or Nikki, I can't remember.
Hey, this is John. I'm running for Congress in the 16th district against an APAC candidate. I think there's a lot that we agree on. Some we disagree on, but 90% of everything we agree on.
You're the same.
Well, you have your opinions. I have my opinions, but I think
Do you stand
that
with Israel?
I stand with America first, and we need to make America great again by stop giving Israel $1, and we need to stop giving every country on the whole planet $1. You just gave $800 million to Ukraine. Don't trust that guy. You're going to shut me down. Okay, so everything you just said makes you a hypocrite if you kick me off your stage.
Excuse me, you're talking too loud.
Well, you're talking too British. Don't know what to tell you, sweetheart. Turn your volume down. There's a volume control on your phone.
Whoa, John. Hang on here. Hang on. I want to be respectful.
All right.
John,
Well, are you a
Congressman?
That's right. I wanted to ask you a question as a candidate. If you were running for Congress and you got elected, or you were the president, what are the 3 things you would do for we, the people of America? Ian?
Well, it seems pretty obvious. And you know what? We've got an entire schematic here that we could reference that seemingly upset so many apple carts that have resulted in a bullet to the brain, which is literally to first and foremost say all foreign money needs to get out of American politics. Secondly, the central banking system in the Federal Reserve needs to be absolutely eliminated. I think that's a perfectly reasonable second thing to do. We can then perhaps look at the entanglements not only on the financial side, but also geopolitically with the Middle East and suggest this is not working for anybody at all whatsoever and get rid of that entire problem. We could perhaps look at the idea of nuclear proliferation and suggest there's one group of people that maybe have this thing, the Hannibal Directive, that seem to not abide by any...
Hannibal Directive? He's still talking about the Hannibal Directive?
You know, we could actually go
Jesus!
we could say maybe that guy might have had a couple things right. There's a few other more extreme things that we could prospectively do. I don't really advocate for that. But the first thing I would absolutely do is to ban, or at least put back in place, the ban that prohibited the U.S. government from propagandizing the citizenry that Barack Obama overturned. That's ludicrous. That the U.S. government needs to literally have the ability to lie to the citizenry is wild, and it's been doubled down because the recent legislation has basically said that deepfakes and other AI things need to be monitored, managed, and potentially even criminalized, with the exception of the intelligence communities. So wait a second. The U.S. government gets to propagandize its citizenry without any recourse and can also use AI to construct video that might use deepfakes for what purpose? Why would anyone not find that weird? It's almost like the tech giants are trying to set up a system where they could just, say Truth Teller and Ian Malcolm 84. Here's a video of them robbing a bank. It might be AI generated, but we don't have the ability to know because only the U.S. government gets to decide what is and isn't real, right? There's a lot of guidelines that we could try and put in place, but the thing that first and foremost has to be done, the borders have to be closed. I think any and every individual that illegally came into the country needs to certainly be cross-examined. Those that are either violent or criminal certainly would be removed. And you can take all kinds of larger extremes on that front, which I would actually advocate for. And when I say extremes, I don't mean being violent, but I mean suggesting that for the last 30 plus years, mass migration has been weaponized against white, Western, Christian cultures. That is not humane, because you can suggest that it's the humane thing to do for people that come from the third world, but it's not humane to those that live in the first world to ruin it on the basis that they need to be empathetic and tolerant of other people. That's not how the world works. You don't get to just take people and stab them in the side and say, well, if you reject this, it's because you're a bigot. That's not how it works. So those are the things that I would do, John. I'm not sure if those are at all of interest. Empathetic and tolerant of other people. That's not how the world works. You don't get to just take people and stab them in the side and say, well, if you reject this, you're a bigot. That's not how it works. So those are the things that I would do, John. I'm not sure if those are at all of interest. Maybe they're terrible ideas. I don't know. Would do. I think the central banking piece, the borders, those are some of the most important and critical. But I'd be curious for your thoughts because I think you're brilliant, my friend.
Yeah, so in terms of how to deal with the Jewish occupation of America, of course, repeal the Federal Reserve and ensure that the Treasury remains in-house and that no foreign entity can control the monetary policy. And of course, banish all of the pro-Jewish lobbies, like, of course, AIPAC, the ADL, J Street, UDP, and ensure there's no more influence, any foreign influence on Congress, and of course, Senate, presidency, or any of the political entities, mayorships, the councils, etc., the judges. They control them all. They have their tentacles spread out across America. And then, the media can't be owned by any of these people either. They should all be, objective, independent, and not just, pro-profit. They should not. I don't think they even should be publicly traded. In some sense, some of them should be nationalized. And the way you impose a check and balance is when the government is actually accountable to the people. Let's say an annual election with a simple litmus test that they can't balance a budget, they get fired. It's that simple. And the election cycle is just very simple. It's like maybe 2 or 3 weeks with a very limited budget, one debate, and then any major law or reform that take place would be through some kind of referendum where the public would vote for or against it. And if special funding is required, then the public would fund it, and if the money's not there, then it won't happen. You spend what you have, not
get access to unlimited amounts of funds with a fiat currency. You can just continue devaluing. So no more fiat currency either. Ideally, a currency based on labor-backed currency. With zero debt, zero interest, of course, and no usury. Of course, no more degeneracy. That would be banned as well. Pornography, OnlyFans, Pornhub, all that stuff banned. And the idea to revert back to a traditional nuclear family. Just promote heterosexuality and banish any homosexuality in public. Don't have it behind closed doors. You just can't control. It's be unrealistic to try to control it.
You can still have gay sex in private.
Yeah, promote a more traditional lifestyle. Revert back to what's worked for centuries. This state, civilization, without which we cease to exist. Of course, battle of vaccines, big pharma crap as well. And refer back to traditional medicine as well, focus on health, which Jews have been destroying for many decades now, which has impacted birth rate significantly, especially with all the vaccines they pushed over 70 doses. So, that's just my little basket of things that change immediately. But health is, I think, key. Banning all these big pharma drugs that are out there, causing all kinds of problems, side effects, and worsening health outcomes deliberately, and also impacting life expectancy, plus how deaths are occurring, which now it's far less so due to natural causes, but instead due to some terminal illness, which is what they want, which gives them the opportunity to try to bankrupt the American public because, healthcare costs are so expensive. But you can significantly minimize healthcare costs. The $4 trillion plus that it costs is to push for healthier lifestyle, preemptive medicine, preemptive health. Preemptive lifestyles that will minimize the need to ever even need to consult a doctor if at all. Doctors have been put on a pedestal for far too long, overpaid, over relied on, and the AMA and even all the medical associations and textbooks need to be revised back to what they were. The Rothschild medicine needs to end too. So that's my little summary of what I would do if I were in power. I bet John agrees with me on every single point. Of course, there should be zero foreign aid to any countries. That's an easy one. And Israel will cease to exist after that because, they're not self-sustaining, are they? They're charity kids. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of it. I think at this point, to say that all things shouldn't be considered as futile. In my opinion, we live in a real bad society, clown world is really bad right now. It's the worst I've ever seen it. And judges and lawyers and doctors, if you're in on the grift, you don't want a thing to change. Medicare, Medicaid at $4 trillion a year, nobody wants that to change. The Republicans just voted for Obamacare. They just gave another $1 billion to Ukraine. The Republicans are indebting this country. The Democrats are as well. The uniparty is real. Congress authorizes the Federal Reserve to spend this money, so we borrow it from them. These are all future tax liabilities. But the thing is, it is a banana republic now. But Venezuela is a bigger banana republic. The Zimbabwe dollar is a bigger banana republic. So it is a global fiat banana republic. But we still have the biggest military. So we are like the biggest mafia organization on the planet. And look at the NATO budget. Look at all the wars. We are the primary culprit in causing conflict throughout the globe. But these are clown world Americans. You and I know it. The Lindsey Grahams, the State Department employees. We live with really stupid people. Highly toxic, very liberal, very effed up people, and they are in your government. They're everywhere. It's like the Matrix. It's like when Neo and Morpheus are walking down the street, it's a simulation of Clown Index. And that's just my opinion, but I agree with, I'm not opposed to anything because at this point, this ship is got so many fucked up participants or passengers. I don't, who wants to go to point A to point B with these people? I think Clown World sucks.
What's crazy that you called Lindsey Graham, I was thinking about it. What did he say? That they were, it's not libertarian, the other one.
He was giving the example of them being liberal, I guess. I think so.
Yeah, liberal. The Lindsey Graham.
Lindsey Graham is crazy, and the only thing that I suppose I would say is that if we look at Clown World, I agree. We basically got Clown World on the left, and we've got clown world on the right. And the clown world on the left is the LGBT woke diversity of everything, mass migration of everything, destruction of all of the culture, the heritage, the tradition, the norms of the Christian world. And the clown world on the right is forever do everything that is of benefit to Israel and Jews. And then if you look at the common denominator behind who's pushing both of those forces, what you realize is the real clown world is that the world is a stage, it's all just players, but we're watching a show that is directed, produced, run entirely at the behest of the suspects that own Hollywood, right? So that's the reason that we focus on the construct of this matrix, because if you're under the impression that you can, let's say, win the matrix by making the most money or by becoming the most famous, all of those things are complete waste of time. It's all fake because you're in the video game, you're in the simulation. The only thing that matters is identifying Agent Smith and the architect of the matrix and trying to point at that thing, because nothing else changes until people become aware of that piece. And so, Big John, that's why I continue triangulating and pointing at all of the let's say, the architect.
See, that's an all or nothing statement.
If you can show me that it's not the usual suspects that I point fingers at, I'm always
Imagine if you said black people in Zimbabwe or Indians in India. Your statement is all or nothing when you say the Jews or Israel. I know, go to your local Chabad and go do a Shabbos with a bunch of Jews, and you tell me if they're involved in world conspiracy. They're not.
You're saying the Jews as if I'm making a low IQ argument and just randomly pointing fingers. So I want to play a game with you. I want to be intellectually honest here. Can you showcase to me a single example in the Western world, in particular in America, because I presume you're most familiar with it, where at the top of the woke problem, or the media problem, or the tech problem, can you point to any of the problem that you complain and campaign against that is not architected, owned, or run at the highest level by Jews?
There's a lot of really piece of shit liberal Jews out there, but there's a lot of...
Okay, hang on. You said liberals and POSs, and then you said Jews. Okay, can you show me a single place where it is not somebody that is either ethnically, religiously married to and or beholden and funded by individuals that are Jewish? Can you give me one example?
Can you give me an example of the Saudis, the Qatars, the Russians, the Iranians? There's people all around the world. You got Jew brain disease. You got Jewish derangement syndrome.
John, you're spurting out, as the kids would say. We're trying to focus on the Western world. We can go into all those places.
You're asking a one-word...
John, don't make me mute you again. Try to conduct yourself with some degree of class and intelligence, and I'm going to try and be generous for another 60 seconds or so, and then we'll move on because you're being a little bit ridiculous. I will give you one more chance. You're an individual running for Congress. I don't mean to embarrass you. I'm going to give you one more opportunity. Showcase to me where in the Western world there's a power structure that is not run at the highest level, if degenerate to society, by Jews. Can you give me one example?
Chairman Powell is a Jesuit, you Catholic fucking idiot. It's run by Jesuits, not the Jews. Jesuits control everything, I tell you. And they touch a lot of little boy booty holes. And they got a lot of big lawsuits against them. Billions of dollars. They're a bunch of pedophile Catholics that can talk.
I'm mute you again because you're either drunk, you're low IQ, you're a troll, or you're just flailing around because you can't honestly address the question that I'm asking you. Any of those...
You just don't like my answer that the Catholics are a bunch of pedophiles and these Jesuits are controlling the military and the big pharma industrial complex. You're covering up for the Jesuits, you Catholics, and that Pope...
John, so you want to talk about the pharmaceutical industry? Do you really want to go down that route? You want me to point out all of the individuals at the top of the COVID roll?
Yeah, let's hear it. Do the roster of the Jews, Ian. And I'll give you the roster of the Jesuits that work with those Jews. Let's do it. I got my list. You got your list, you Jew-hating, anti-Semitic, Jewish derangement syndrome schmuck.
John, you judge at the top of the COVID rollout.
Are you vaccinated and triple boosted? Because this message is brought to you by Pfizer.
John, I'm going to try and be respectful and give you one more chance. Give me 3 individuals that are Jesuit educated at the top of the COVID rollout.
Go ahead, John.
I want everybody to know you're not muted right now.
The Jesuits. Yeah, no, it's not. Jesuits.
Come on, John, you can do it. Are you typing?
I can't do it.
Open this stadium.
Oh, there we go. Listen, I know a lot of you people never went to college and you're not in a sorority or a fraternity, but there are fraternities out there.
I will give you one more opportunity. Can you point to a set of 3 Jesuit individuals at the top of the COVID rollout?
Listen, I got my list of over 200 Jesuit traitors that we need to hang in D.C.
Direct question. I told you that it was your final opportunity. I'm going to give you one more. You are embarrassing yourself. Name 3 individuals that are Jesuit educated that are at the top of the COVID rollout. Ready, go.
Dr. Fauci, you fucking idiot! Do I gotta spell it out for you? F-A-U-C-I, Fauci!
John, you're not muted.
Yes, I am.
I think he's breathing so hard that his microphone just gave up. I was like, oh my god.
You know why? Boomers like this.
I told him he was speaking.
Why boomers like this? Because Dr. Fauci vaccinated you and you can't have children anymore. The mRNA vaccine in your blood is going to prevent all of you from having children. And we'll have global depopulation. And Bill Gates, another Jesuit. Dr. Bill Gates, another Jesuit who vaccinated you and won't let you go on your trip to the southern Spain. Oh dear me, because we don't get another booster, darling. Don't get another Pfizer, Moderna, J&J, AstraZeneca, put it so they took us.
Really remarkable.
A Jesuit and a Jew cooked up the special vaccination that is depopulating the planet.
Personality, guys. He has another personality.
You got another personality, it's not an imitation, you twink. You fucking twat.
John's a pedophile.
John's a pedophile, that's projection, you sick little fuck.
Hey, John, do you know who founded the Jesuit order in 1540? Since you're so smart.
Fucking Dr. Bill Gates' grandfather.
To college, right? Do you know the name of the...
Dr. Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci did this to us, and you can't even admit it because you got your head so far up these fucking Jesuits' asses.
Ignatius Loyola in 1540, along with a bunch of other Lateral Sephardic Jews, are the ones who founded the Jesuit.
Got your head so far up Bill Gates' ass, you can't pull it out the Jesuit hole that is in.
Guys losing it. There's too many of those Jewish poisons he's been exposed to. So this is what I mean, people, when I say to stay away from the Jewish poisons and these terrible...
Stay away from Bill Gates and Dr. Fauci and all these Catholics.
And he's spurring out like this. Maybe he's still called...
He's a fake Christian, ladies and gentlemen. He's not a real Jesus believer.
He's a fraud, wannabe Jew like George Santos, who spent all his money on, I guess, OnlyFans subscriptions, Botox, and fancy suits, taking his husband out. You're a faggot too, right, John? Yeah, I guess maybe John's got a chance. Who knows?
That's projection, but George Santos is a faggot. George Santos and Milo Yiannopoulos are indeed faggot cocksuckers. Don't take advice from faggots, kids.
Okay, hold on. John, be serious for a minute. How much money have you got? You have more than $90 since the last time we saw everything, or like for shekels.
He has to make a total ass out of himself because he can't go to Israel. They won't pay for his trip because he's not qualified. He's just doesn't have enough of a network to qualify that he can get his own expense paid trip to Israel. So he's got to really simp and humiliate himself in spaces before he.
It's a humiliation ritual, ladies and gentlemen. The Orthodox Jews are making me humiliate myself.
You were blackmailing at all, or are you just that far gone? Not even on the first rung of the Jewish ladder.
This is a humiliation ritual. I'm participating in a humiliation ritual for the Orthodox Jewish organization, for the AJC and the AIPAC. Then what? I'm getting paid to do this, folks. The Jews control everything, and they're paying me to do this right now.
He's still doing the British accent, guys. I tricked him out.
It's all remarkable. John, I'm going to say this with get help.
That was hilarious!
To a counselor.
What do you mean? I just had some pizza. Why would I want to go to a counselor? I gotta go to the bathroom and wash my hands.
To this therapist that I would recommend you perhaps consider speaking with.
I'm getting therapist recommendations now for me and Carol.
That's how I spend my days and ask them for an evaluation.
It's projection. This is all projection. We got it. It's called the projection.
Back to the space. And for time to recap, because I want you to get better, John. What we just kind of witnessed, and I say this this with complete sincerity. I think the kids would call it cringe because it was beyond embarrassing. And I'm not only embarrassed on behalf of you, I'm embarrassed on behalf of listeners that had to listen, myself, that this was part of the conversation. There's a lot of things that are obnoxious. There's a lot of trolls. There's a lot of people who want to disconnect from reality. And then there are those who are disassociated from it. And I think you might fit into the final bucket. And I say that with all sincerity. I'm not a doctor. I have no medical expertise in this regard. But consider it. Consider speaking with a therapist, a psychologist, and again, share this with them. And if it was a troll, then in that case, perhaps
nicely done if it was a troll.
Go and do stand-up and improv.
I'm already doing it right now, baby. We're doing it right now. Ian Malcolm 84.
There's a little school, I can't remember what it's called, but a stand-up school that's part of that. That's a theater program. Largely run by Jews at its highest level.
Woo! Back to the Jewish teachers. Jewish masters.
Go there. Either psychological, maybe illness, in which case I pity you and you have my empathy. Perhaps you're trying to be humorous and you're just really bad at it. Maybe
I just crushed the show.
Not wanted. I don't want to see you here.
I'm not wanted in his faces. He doesn't want to see me anymore.
And I will not give you a mic going forward.
Woo! I got banned from the entire show.
And I hope that you find happiness wherever it may take you.
Ian Malcolm banned me from the show. Banned from the Ian Malcolm 84 show.
Go ahead, miss.
Thank you very much. It's been an excellent space, Ian. Well done, Joanne, and truth teller, and recognizing your speakers. Awesome speakers, by the way. But I wish to challenge American community, and I pray that one day you will find it in you to act on this. The Zionist government considers itself an American friend, and they taking nationals from America to indoctrinate them, and maybe how about reciprocating that and train and have no less than 1,000 to start with, and tens of thousands sooner, to go and also indoctrinate and transform Zionist children, and whether they are fake or true Jews, but they are ill indoctrinated. They are held hostage. They cannot even converse over the Hannibal Directive, and their children are destroying donor help. They need help. And the only superpower we have under the sun is the friend of Israel, America. How about we sponsor a group to go and do the same in Israel? Will that be acceptable? I hope it will. It is a very important thing to consider, really, that we talk, because in reality, the Jews are held hostage as we speak. There are many things they cannot talk about. And then may I touch on something that I hope it will be understood fairly. We have our Muslim community who always say peace upon Jesus, but he's not God, he's not. I think we should arrive at a place where we help each other understand that mankind cannot save themselves, and Jesus is the Son of God. He's one with God. He is God. And I will also qualify this by one thing that once happened to, forgive me for saying a lot, host, but this is an important point I wish to highlight, that there has been a very notable prophet, and one day a group of Muslims came to kill Christians, but this was a prophet of another level. God revealed what was about to happen, and he set traps, and he made sure that when they come, which they did, and then after eating at the church kitchen, they had set their explosives. They were arrested in the spirit. And what then happened is couldn't sleep. They couldn't, yet they were arrested. They couldn't travel back to where they had come from, and yet they couldn't explode their satanic things scattered around the church. I am trying to say, yes, it may be nothing to do with the Islamic religion, but these people claimed to have been initiated using the Quran. So we have to get to a point where we help each other do the right thing. God has defined how things should be done, and we cannot be appeasing each other and fooling each other. And it is of concern also because even the Gazans and the Palestinians, at times, some people
from
use
the Indian
Islam,
Jewish
and yet
derangement
they are
show,
suffering as
Jewish
people.
show.
They are not suffering because they are Muslims. But there are some who are trying to use that. No, let's sort the world and let's make it a fair place.
Amazon, despite coming off of their really good quarter, almost everything else in the large cap tech basket is well off its highs. And
those are crowded trades.
They are, and so they're becoming a source of fun during this rotation, right?
Yes, it's a source of funds, and I totally get the rotation. But look at like the XLI, okay, the industrials ETF. Look at industrials
100% agree.
All-time closing high.
100%. That's what the opportunities, Joe. Exactly. 100% agree. And by the way, in XLI, there are many these defense contractors as well. So, and there has always been tremendous amount of opportunities there to make money. And 100% correct, right? So XLI, IYT, retail is now waking up. And I think there's some fundamental narrative shift that need to happen in chemical space, but even materials are starting to look better and better each week that goes by. But broadly speaking, if you were to bucket all of it, I think you could say that the signs that we're seeing would suggest a shift towards large cap value, cyclical value basket. Not defensive value. There's a very big difference. Not defensive value. I'm not saying go hide out in Staples. I'm not saying go hide out buying Coca-Cola and Kimberly Clark's of the world. I'm saying cyclicals, buy railroads, buy Union Pacific, buy smokestacks, all these cyclical value. And again, I'll just say this, but I know that I think this is the environment that's coming. I think this is a beautiful time for O'Hare to make a lot of money next year.
Only O'Hare.
Well, he is probably the best large cap value or even mid cap value guy that I've known on Twitter. There might be others, but he's probably the best one I've ever come across. So so I'll put him at the top until I find somebody else. But Joe, let me ask you this. If this line of thinking, which I think you and I sort of agree, right, largely speaking, this rotation, if this is correct, does it not worry you then about cryptos? Does it not worry you then we could be entering into a period where crypto could just take a very long rest and go nowhere?
No, because I don't think, listen, if it stagnates and chops around, to me, I have other assets, they'll perform well. I don't mind that. Okay, I think that actually is healthy. Now, will it underperform? Yeah. Is that annoying? Yeah, because of my allocation. But what we are more concerned about is there some serious economic downturn that's going to pull assets down, 80, 70%? Like that's what you're
okay. Well, let me touch on that because the U.S. dollar has been unable to get through 100, and if my discussions that I just
your perspective has never been moved to use if you were successful.
motion to reconsider is laid on the table. On this vote, the yeas are 312, the nays are 112. The bill is passed without objection. A motion to reconsider is laid on the table. On this vote, the yeas are 3.
I think the most important thing that's going to happen in the world in the next 3 to 4 years is data centers in space. If you think about it from first principles, data centers should be in space. What are the fundamental
12, the nays are 112. The bill is passed without objection.
And if this is an informational warfare type agenda, which it is, I think we can all at least agree in some part that that is a big case. It's a technology war, and if all this information is all of a sudden all readily available to us, what are we missing here?
No, we're not. I'd say
Hey, John, because of that, I just want to say to John, I'd really like to interview him soon about everything we just laid out. I just sent you a DM.
Share, John?
Yeah, absolutely.
Make sure you share that. I'll be
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, this was something I actually blew the whistle on Facebook back in 2017 about, and this is one of the reasons why I got nuked down there. My account was literally suspended for a year and a half until I just stopped using it after that. But it's crazy, man. Like, they don't want this information out what this agenda was for. This all goes back to Saudi and like the tarmac meetings and the global agenda and stuff like that. It's pretty wild.
Don't forget the whole Tesla fires. Trump was trying to say by attacking Teslas, you were a domestic terrorist. Remember that? Tesla, domestic terrorist, robots, and so forth.
And now they're trying to put data centers in space. So if they do go rogue, we can't even destroy the data centers.
Yeah, but their data, I would just say the amount of data that's there, whether it was successful or isn't, when you remove that Five Eyes layer, there's so much shit that's there that wasn't there before. 99% of people probably say they don't care about that, but it is important, and it's also a big piece to understand that when you're sovereign and you have a crown, you can run shit, especially here in the U.S., because all your decisions are your own, from your monetary policy to the top, bottom, the entire structure of your governance. You're the ultimate authority on that. So that's another one of those things. The things that you can do when you're in an actual country that has a ruler or a controller is very powerful. That's why they segued after they created the whole Arabian Peninsula and they put a bunch of those Arabs on the thrones. All those people went to the London schools and they're all interconnected. So yeah, same storyline repeats over and over and over again. But I won't bore people to death.
No, that part of the history is my job. See, hang tight just a second, buddy. We got a new speaker up here. The other John, is it Kitover or how do you pronounce it?
Kitover. I'm running for Congress in Illinois 16, but when I hear somebody saying that we're putting data centers in outer space, I have to basically come to the conclusion that there's so much clickbait and so much stupid content out there, and the fact that we talk about it and listen to it, like I've gone on diets and fasts of all this stupid content and surrounded myself with books, and thank God we have effing books, because otherwise you listen to just nonstop clickbait and stupid shit all day long by clown world people who want to fill your stupid consciousness with, we've got to put data centers in outer space. This is the most important thing in society. Not your property taxes, not your homeowner's insurance, not your sales taxes, not your gas prices, not everything that you use in your real life to exist. We've got to now start really seriously considering worrying and then start investing all of our money and work an extra day a week so we can get these huge, massive data centers in ours. It's like, anyways, I'm just, ranting, but looking forward to being in your space.
Hey, welcome in, John. Break in, dude. And hey, to that point, I'm probably a little autistic, to be entirely honest. But I have a laundry list of links and, things that I found to be interesting. Like our grandparents would include newspaper articles, decades ago. And I have an article somewhere in my hidey hole about a federal contractor that was either awarded or in the process of being awarded a grant that would have enabled them to produce space-based megastructures. And I found that the source document is actually real sort of thing. But yeah, you're right, dude. It is the most obvious and glaring thing.
NVIDIA came
I'm
out.
just glad he wasn't saying it didn't exist for a minute. I was like, oh my god. He's like, oh, of course they are. Like, oh, they're doing it.
I was like, yeah, wait a minute, no, they actually are. But the crazy thing about it is, you rewind back through time, this conversation's been going on for a long time, and they're looking at trying to harvest more energy from the sun by solar or whatever it is, and then the argument comes out that, oh yeah, well, the vacuum is technically easier to heat or cool. The whole conversation exists. But like 3-4 weeks ago, like I was getting into, NVIDIA had acknowledged one of the posts that I had propagated and contributed to, as well as a couple others, the fin twit, if you will. Why would a corporation that large come out and say, we are not Enron? But their business practices clearly indicate that their revenue models are circular at best, and they operate on a 12-month forward projection, which are being accused of doing like Enron. Yeah, because they are. The whole thing is money laundering. It's a giant circular model, like left pocket to right pocket to this dude's left pocket to that. They even marry dudes so they can enjoy the fringe tax benefits. Like, it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life.
But they're not lying because they're not named Enron, so there's that.
Yeah, they're NVIDIA with an EN. Like, okay, come on.
Well, and what was the last, quote, data center, going back, let's say, 20, 25 years ago, that was introduced on the East Coast, I believe, actually, in Massachusetts. Well, that was part of now CIA, FBI operations.
Yeah, remember when AWS East went down? Oh, by the way, it's Norfolk, Virginia.
Yeah, now we have the fusion centers of space pretty much being implemented.
Frickin' space lasers. Marjorie Taylor Greene was right. Holy shit.
Yeah, and those flying whales, they have laser beams.
I mean, it's a freaking shark. Freaking laser beam.
Where are you running, John? You're running in.
I'm running in Illinois 16 versus Darren LaHood. And, chemtrails or contrails, as they're called on YouTube. I see contrails every single sunny afternoon in the Chicagoland area. I see the craziest videos. In my opinion, I would really like to get a camera so you could really zoom in and see what's happening. But I don't know. It is the dumbest conspiracy theory thing to talk about. It's as stupid as flat Earth. But it's not stupid. I mean, we have to realize that taxpayers are borrowing to sit there to fly these fucking planes all around the skies in every major city for what? Are these pilots just joyriding, practicing? Are these National Guard Reserve pilots? Like, can we FOIA it? I mean, anyways, it's kind of a joke, but, I think we live in clown world. Everybody's worried about the Jews and Israel and Candace Owens and Tim Dillon's pop shots in his chicken farm. It's like, I'm just sick of society. I'm sick of clown world. I'm sick of the communication that we have to live under in this country when we know we're 39 trillion in debt, 100 trillion in unfunded debt, the big pharma, the big military, the never-ending wars, the irrational and stupid alliances with stupid governments and stupid fucking people. I'm sick of all the liberal scum at the State Department, at the IRS and the Treasury. I'm sick of liberals everywhere controlling everything in every major city. They are the dumbest fucking people I've ever seen. And I live in Chicago with Brandon Johnson, one of the chief stupidest people on the planet, who's now our mayor. I just don't, it's a paradox. How are the dumbest people on the planet some of the richest and most powerful people on the planet?
Well, there's a terminology. Yes, the secret ingredient is crime. But there's a term for that. It's a kakistocracy. It's for the least qualified of leaders.
That's what we got. But, I do think, I think the level of information that's coming out, especially with the release or whatever, discontinuance of the Five Eyes cables, will really start to open things up a lot, especially privately. Interesting with Chicago, because Chicago's like, New Jersey, you got Delaware, you got Maryland, you got Virginia, but Chicago's like a little cesspool of its own. What's your plans for changing Chicago?
Well, I'm running in the 16th district of Illinois, which is Rockford, Peoria, Bloomington, Illinois, but I'm a resident here in Chicago. The Chicago Teachers Union that Johnson comes from are hardcore liberal Marxist communist socialists that literally dress up in all red and they look like communist parties. 65% of our property taxes go to funding the Chicago public school system, which is controlled by the teachers union. basically this government puts out $250 billion a year or $100 billion a year with the Department of Education, but it's $1 trillion+ a year industry because of property taxes. But lawyers just control the whole fucking system. And running for Congress, they removed me from the ballot yesterday because a bunch of corrupt judges and lawyers that run the entire election board, they don't listen to your challenges. They don't obey administrative law. They do whatever the hell they want to do, and they ignore you. And, I'm not in the club. I'm not a lawyer. So, and I'm not going to spend, $30,000 for a lawyer to defend my campaign. It's so Americans have to realize that this is a transformative experience running for Congress. And every American should run for Congress. There's no filing fee. It takes 15 minutes, and it's an incredible experience to see how your government really works, because the whole racket is with judges and lawyers, challenges, objections of petitions. Constitution, there's only one agency in the Constitution, the Department of Commerce's a Census Bureau. So I don't know. I know it's 2025, but I don't know. I'm just like,
No, I'm with you. I'm glad you're embracing it too, because it can become very daunting and almost discouraging. But from my perspective, it's actually a really good thing, because you never would have people looking this deeply into the corporate structure of cities or boards or different parties, and that stuff is it's the juice, right? You really find out how the machine actually operates and works underneath the hood.
No, I'm not saying it's the Jews. I'm not saying it's the Jews. There's
I said juice.
Oh, juice. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Sorry, I was lost. That's a censored TikTok term.
Well, that made me want to drop my name down into the bill. But I'm glad that we're having those difficult conversations too, because I think it's fucking annoying when people can't just talk about whatever subject, right? That's what annoys me the most. The whole Candace thing is all these parenting influencers just saying, no, you're not allowed to. It's really, we're supposed to just trust the FBI. We're supposed to just trust the government, who covered up JFK, covered up satanic pedophilia, lied about the election, lied about Russiagate, are still lying about JFK. So yeah, it's crazy. We got C11 and Gambler. You guys are transit.
Thanks. Real quick, I have some more to bring to your space, to the effect of what you had in your minds, in your vision here, and I like it. Can I just add that there's a giant segment of people that also say if you question Candace, that you're a fan or Israeli, or they want to cancel you. There's people we know very well. So I'm not gonna name their name. We say if they're out there questioning Candace, just unfollow them. And these are right-wing freedom of speech guys.
It's like that pattern. It just repeats, huh? That doesn't matter. We went through with the Jews thing for a while. It's just you're on one side or the other. Pick a side and stick to it. I don't know.
It's something that goes all the way back to the assassination of Abraham Lincoln, right? But I don't want to start at the assassination of Abraham Lincoln. I don't even want to start.
No, you should. I'll tell you guys that.
I don't even want to start at the point. Listen, sir. I don't even want to start at the point where his hand in the quill or whatever, whether it was a pen or quill, was put to the paper to sign over the Secret Service. Did you know that was the key? That was it. That was the moment in time where everything shifted, and everything that you see today, that is the birth of it. And if you could put it in terms of the seed germinating the egg, right? That is the very point right there.
Well, exactly. The version of
the signature of Abraham Lincoln on that piece of fucking paper that started the Secret Service, and he probably didn't even know that he was signing his own death sentence.
Well, I'll just say this, right? So the version of history they sold and told us, that's not the version that's in those department cables. He actually creates a system
during the Civil War called the FRUS cables, or State Department cables, regarding foreign relations, and those are now released. So you can read about him directly, well, not him, but William Seward directly calling out the Queen of England, and talking about how they're capturing their ships and privateering and supporting the other side of the South, even to the point inside Parliament where they literally call for recognizing the South as a separate nation with its own president. So I would just say this, like, the version of history that we have is so far from what the actual source files show, and I would just encourage you to read those because they haven't been accessible, and for some reason they are now. So just this is the biggest reason that I appreciate your space, is because it's an advanced U.S. history class. You're not gonna learn these things in any class, not even in college. Okay. The point I wanted to start at, I just mentioned Lincoln because that was a significant assassination, right? But that was just it was just the beginning. It was just okay, so they have the power to do that. And so for the longest time, it didn't rear its head again until JFK really truly, like in a really big way. And then it's just been rampant ever since. But to understand what we're talking about, here is a bullet point. I have bullet points. From the 1830s to the 1890s, this period of time, European banking dynasties, the Rothschild, the Warburg, the Schiff, the Baring, plus American robber baron houses, Morgan, Rockefeller, Kunlev, I don't know how to spell that. Kunlob, all right. So you know this material. Consolidate transatlantic finance. That is a bullet point I wanted to bring. I yield there. Interesting term there, right? Transatlantic finance.
Wasn't Wells Fargo transmitting on telegraph or transatlantic cables?
They all have to. But we don't own those cables. That's the crux of the issue. Always been the crux of the issue. So yeah, with the history, especially these documents, it's like you're revisiting history, but you're finding the accurate version of it. And that's why my thing is go directly to the source, go directly to the archive, and always press to check foreign archives, foreign languages. Like when I do research now, I'll research in 10 different languages, because you would be surprised what pamphlets in an archive somewhere will tell you about a royal charter or the corporate structure of governance. It's very interesting.
And Michael, as I say, can you do a primer on how to access the various archives for research?
Hell yes. That could be one of my, I would say, probably first or second episode, 100%. It's so interesting. For some reason, right, again, I can't put my finger on it. It probably has to do with Erickson News Star. But the case files, especially from 2014, but the privatized records that were backdoored through MIT, I mean, you're talking about not the hypothetical version of history for the Titanic. You can actually look up every investor, every insurer that was involved, the people that were involved, the cases that were involved. And this might sound boring to most people, but
to spice it up, doesn't RMS mean Royal Mail Ship?
Yeah, that makes it infrastructure owned by the king.
What about White Star Alliance and all of that?
Yeah, White Star Alliance comes too. Basically, Morgan comes in and marries his daughter to Charles Francis Adams III, who they claim is descendant of the President John Quincy Adams and the Adams family. But from my research, I'm finding that there's a major discrepancy in the corporate boards that they claim that these individuals were on. And I pulled all their records, all their property records, all their corporate records, and that was what started this whole rat race way back when, 2017 and 18 when I got cancer. And so, there's a version of history that they told us, and then there's the version that the files actually show. And I think the version that the files actually show is way more fascinating. And so it sucks because it's oh my God, we've been lied to. But it's not that bad, because in reality you can actually find the source truth, and then compare and contrast it.
So I think revisiting Lincoln is fucking amazing because he straight up calls out, the Queen specifically. He's like, you're privateering. You're literally disabling our ability to conduct commerce. And then you parse that with like, okay, if I'm looking at a story and it involves German royal family, the British royal family, the Rothschilds, right? So you want to look in all the places they did business, and then all the languages where those corporate records would be stored or filed, and you put that in the prompt, specifically saying, I want you to check all these different archives. And I don't know, maybe it's like I've just mind warped my AI to like do this so often that it's just doing it on the regular. But yeah, we've got access to archives that we didn't before. Like I said, the secret Five Eyes agreement, that's made between FDR and he also creates FBI SIS, he creates OSS, and that secret treaty has never been online, and found it, along with 555 other documents that will tell you the complete signals intelligence history of the Five Eyes agreement and the secret aspects of it. So to me, it's fascinating. Probably to most other people, it's not that fascinating, but you can think about the East Wing of the White House, where first, under FDR, he builds a private room, and it's like a collaborative trust. It's really a bunker, and that's where that agreement was, where its power source was. So I know that the fact that I'm staring at these files and I'm checking the Wayback Machine, I'm checking internet history to see if, has this file ever been on the public front-facing internet? And it's showing me no, it's not. So that's all out there. And I think that changes the game a lot. Does it cause us to have a slight bit of dependence on Israel? Yes. But I genuinely think that Israel will be reformed, the UK will be reformed, and the United States will be reformed. Because we're just too captured.
This is America. Don't get you slipping now. Don't get you slipping now.
I think it's important to note, like, as far as ownership claims of different departments too, like you mentioned, Lincoln Secret Service. But what is really well talked about is that Washington unofficially created his own form of a Secret Service agency. And this is what in part was crossing the Delaware sort of thing, and spies and coming around to the backside and conquering and so on and so forth. But with Lincoln, it's kind of that history shift too, because if you look into the Pinkertons, there's a bit more to do with what modern day sort of I guess police force and intelligence and the Secret Service apparatus is kind of modeled off of, which interestingly enough has to do with railroads and shipping aliens on land connecting to the sea, and how that plays a role in things. That all obviously goes back to the British sort of.
How much would it cost them traveling all this way because it's formality? And the people navigators until one conference
they're dominating during the Civil War. The British Empire had vastly powerful, whether it was private industry, the East India Company.
Kings did not pay homage to Achilles. Perhaps the kings were too far behind to see. And the soldiers wanted back. History remembers kings. Not soldiers. Our good monuments to victory on every island of Greece. Our God, hanging everyone in the stone. My name will last through the ages.
It's just hard to get primary source files that you can actually trust. But with these evergreens, that's something Lincoln created himself, and a month or two or 3 months before Lincoln gets assassinated, he also forms through
no argument with you, brothers, but if you don't research, you'll never see home again.
So he saw, I'd imagine he saw the Southern District of New York, which is literally nicknamed the Sovereign
Too
District.
many people have died today.
How
Killing's your only talent, that's your purse.
a royal
I don't want anyone dying for me.
sales court. It's still on that land.
Silenced. I enslaved
one of those
them.
things where like a monkey
Kings did not.
Southern Eastern District of the Army, isn't it funny? He gets assassinated. So yeah, really interesting. All the stuff that we now will revisit, but can revisit. And while we're doing this space, I'm going to put a report together that will show everybody literally, corporately, legally, and break down every law, where in the charter, where you can access it. And I'll put that report at the bottom of you guys. So that anyone, it might be a pretty long report, like 25 pages, 27 pages, but anybody that can read through that can identify right how we're still operating Crown charters and how we're still good. But
He's the first one.
yeah, for me, I just try to look at it like, try to not take in the movies or the universe or the things and I just go to the these are the same things I'm dealing with trying to say, but and then I'm actually trying to it goes very deep. It involves all our research, private court records, and yourself. Like everything was at that time in 2013, the actual jurisdiction of the case that basically stated that the liability of that accident that started to claim that liability. And from that time, pretty much, as far as that.
That's a big deal because it happens in international waters. That's a huge deal, and people need to understand why it's part of the thing too now, right? Because the educational land that the states have about 16 to 50,000 acres per state is under deemed educational land. Well, where do you think that goes? It goes right to the universities, right? So it's all tied in.
Yeah, it's under it's like taking the history of a person and, making it a legal fiction and telling
Whenever you see an older man with
Library of Congress that is formed. So ironic about it is FDR, the National Archives place. Really what that's doing is collecting all the documents and archives research, all documents and centralizing it. But that's a huge major so that you can control
Hold on, let me take it from here. That's another story for another day. Bullet point really quickly is going to be from 1898 to 1910, the group that we've been discussing, we're going to hereby acknowledge them as Cabal. From 1898 to 1910, the same group crushes populist pre-silver movement, even private currency.
Why do you post every day when you barely get 100 likes?
100 likes means the beginning of why they have watching the Titanic in 19. That may seem small to you, but motivating. I know my audience is out there, and when they find me, they will support me.
Why do you post?
It's fun, man. Revisiting history. It's like, and I think it's right. Again, even all of the person that we're all talking about, I implore you to go search the archives. You will see case records, the original archives, and just access to data, information that's not relevant to
Number news, Illinois record. All it takes is
Christopher Columbus did not discover America. How you can discover a place where the inhabitants are watching you arrive from the shore. There are actually many other mariners before Columbus that discovered America as well. Decades earlier, even eons earlier, many of these pre-Columbian explorers might have come from Africa, out that Columbus Columbus himself was aware that African mariners had preceded him. In his diary of his second voyage, Columbus tells about how the natives of Hispaniola actually had given him gold and metal spearheads that they said were brought by black-skinned people who had come in large boats from the south and southeast. Coincidence? I think not. No. Christopher Columbus did not discover America. How you can discover a place where the inhabitants are watching you arrive from the shore. There are actually many other mariners before
officially installed bureaucracy that has transfer money and does all the commerce for them. And through history, they've been professional scapegoats. So that's the situation we're actually in.
And that's why Candace and the whole situation is important to understand, because their relationship to this group is very important to understand. So yeah, you know, it's all you do. They burned, the French and the British burned down our White House and never paid back for it. It's probably not.
So, Jason, we're going to start talking about professional scapegoats. Are we going to talk about the reasons tonight?
Well, yeah. I actually share some material right there. With a Masonic kid, like at the top levels.
Want to create your own?
We call them the dark arts. I will call it the dark arts. So there'll be the version that's popularized, and then there's like the actual iterations after. The Freemasonry jump I think it was before back in the day, how it started, for example, but it was like the foundation They also, Russia also, there was the American Russian company, which how much bigger you want to get? But Russia was on our side on the water and so forth. But that joke around here is 800 pounds. Maybe a little. Rabbit holes. So I do want to invite anybody that wants to speak, ask questions, wants to talk about Candace, wants to talk about how crazy the world we're living in is.
We made a commitment to the audience, Mike. You have to explain how cabal is an acronym.
My bad. Yeah, so it is the Cabal Ministry, or Cabal refers to a group of high counselors of King Charles II of England, Scotland, and Ireland. So think about that, right? Being king of England, Scotland, and Ireland at the same time. So that means you could have Scottish foreigners that could, in that regiment or that group, go and infiltrate. So it's very beneficial to be a king of multiple nations or territories. The term cabal has a double meaning. In this context, it refers to the fact that for perhaps the first time in English history, effective power in a royal council was shared by a group of men, a cabal, rather than dominated by a single favorite. The term also serves as the acronym CABAL, named as the five privy councillors, Clifford, Arlington, Buckingham, Ashley, and Lauderdale, who formed the council's committee for foreign affairs. Foreign affairs, that right there is your keystone. Look into the foreign affairs, look into the history, look into the version they told you, and then find out that they lied. These 5 members made up the cabal: Clifford, Arlington, Buckingham, Ashley, Lauderdale, which held most of the power within that government. C stands for Sir Thomas Clifford, first Baron Clifford. Anyways, their fucking names are so annoying.
Are there any dots to connect there from those names to the people who are at the helm of these 2 national organizations? One being the Council for National Policy, right?
Yeah,
the one that you don't hear about, the Council for National Policy and the Council of Foreign Relations.
Yes, you'll find it like in the United States, you have the Diplomatic Corps, which is French for Corps Diplomatique. It's a collective body of foreign diplomats accredited to a particular country or body. Diplomatic corps may, in certain contexts, refer to the collection of accredited heads of missions, ambassadors, high commissioners, nuncios, and others who represent their countries in another state or country. So diplomacy wasn't something that they created. It was actually the concept. Well, I don't actually know, because India probably, they were controlling it. But yeah, Council appear as if they're the heroes and they're, saving people from tyranny, when in reality they're the terrorists. And they're just limiting their liability by having a group of nations say, we're all coming together in the unified defense of each other, even though that makes no sense. So
I should like to ask some questions now of a gentleman by the name of, he's a governor right now in Florida, last name DeSantis.
Yeah. You asking me about him or what?
No, this is something that I believe that he might have some insight on. These questions, these very questions, right? The ones where.
Hey, Governor DeSantis, I got you on the telephone. I got somebody named C11 that wants to talk to you on X Spaces right now. Can you take a question, Governor?
I might run, but I think for all the states, it's been great.
For sure.
It's good talking.
Hey, can I just say something, Michael? When you said their names are annoying, embrace it. Embrace it. Because Jean-Michel is Trogno and Pierre Xavier Boussard and all these, this is how you build the intrigue. Yeah, just embrace it, man. The French names, the foreign names, the third, the fourth, the fifth. By the way, you're really laying it out great tonight. I'm actually really getting intrigued. I'm like, oh my God, now we have to listen to episode or season 1 of great. So we're going to get into it. Seriously, bro, you're breaking it down.
The French islands. What do you think?
So you know how hard it is to keep this dude on the rails? Come on.
Impossible. But I did, where I do the most interesting work is when I'm researching and I don't have to put on any sort of front. I could just talk about stuff.
No, I really do know. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I know. He's crushing it tonight. It's understandable. This is awesome.
So I'll read the French Foreign Legion post because everyone's like, French Foreign Legion. What is the French Foreign Legion? Well, I'll tell you guys.
Credit Vsauce for a cool comeback. Vsauce has been guiding them pretty well. Well done, Vsauce.
You ready for this, TGK? So, Mike, how many teeth do you have to qualify to be in the French Foreign Legion?
4, which goes back to the 4 original unified nations that formed the French Foreign Legion, because it's comprised of foreigners, meaning not French. So I'll have to put this in the top of the nest, but so the French Foreign Legion was literally born directly out of the same royal bloodlines that rule the world today. In 1831, it wasn't some edgy Republican general who created the Legion. It was the French King Louis Philippe I, head of the House of Orleans, signing a royal ordinance to raise a corps of foreigners to fight France's dirty colonial war in Algeria. So French citizens didn't have to do it. That's the origin story. A royal foreign mercenary army built to project power while keeping political damage low at home. Here's the part that the history books often leave out. That same king's daughter, Princess Louise d'Orleans, marries Leopold I. That's the head of house of the Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. He's a prince. He becomes the first king of the Belgians, making her the queen of the Belgians. And so marrying French nobility into the German British House of Saxe-Coburg-Gotha. So the queen, the nobility into the bloodline, the German House of Saxe-Coburg. Their descendants, Leopold II, the king who turns the Congo Free State into his private extraction colony, Carlota of Belgium, Empress of Mexico, in a French-backed imperial project. Now plug in Queen Victoria and the rest of Europe. Leopold I of Belgium is the uncle and mentor of Queen Victoria. Victoria marries her own Saxe-Coburg cousin, Prince Albert, fusing the British throne with the German one, into the same German Coburg web. Their children and grandchildren marry on to almost every major European throne. United Kingdom, Windsor's rebrand in 1917, but the bloodline, that's what matters. Bloodline is still Saxe-Coburg and Gotha. Belgium, Leopold line, they actually take over the brand of Saxe-Coburg and Gotha once the British relinquish it. And Belgium is based on Napoleonic Code. It's influenced from Napoleonic Code. So their declarations and all that are written in French. Spain is the Bourbon line tied into the wider Victoria-Coburg-Cousin network. Scandinavia and the Low Countries, royal houses in Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Netherlands, Luxembourg, all plug into this network of bloodline families. So you've got one royal complex creating the French Foreign Legion to wage colonial wars with foreign bodies, and marrying into Saxe-Coburg-Victoria network that ends up ruling the UK, Belgium, Congo, Mexico, Bulgaria, Brazil, even they marry into the Russian throne, and Germany becomes is the descendant of Queen Victoria. So the people who all fought World War I, they're all royal noble cousins and family.
Hey, Mike, two things to interject and add context. First, have any of you ever heard the phrase, symbolism will be their downfall? Has anyone ever heard that phrase used in context ever? Show of hands, emojis, fart noises, something. Okay, to tie this together, real quick exercise for the audience. Go Google the state flag of Louisiana and tell me what's in the corner of the flag. Good, I'll give you like 5 seconds.
It's your state flag.
No, it's on the flag.
The Masonic symbol.
It's the Union Jack. But also, what else happened in 1917, Mike?
1917? A lot of shit.
Yeah, like the Austrian nobility having their titles stripped and they were only allowed to maintain state blood. Oh, I'm sorry, shit, I was wrong. But hey, now you guys get to laugh at me, you won't forget it. Look at that, 1919. That whole window of time.
That's a really important point because, right, Germany is this duchy. It's a country that's a group that's made up of different sovereigns that are sitting on the thrones of their own little county or jurisdiction. So they have their own house rules, and the imperial Germany has a different set of rules. So actually, Prince Albert goes to serve in both as head of the Admiralty in the Royal Navy and swears an oath to Kaiser Wilhelm in 1983. So it's like, 1883, not 1983. So, it's the same royal families that are running point. But to finish up the post, it's the French Foreign Legion isn't just a romantic band of outcasts. It's a royal instrument born on a king's signature, wired into the same dynastic web that carved up Algeria, Congo, Mexico, and half of the 19th century world, and whose countries still wear crowns across Europe. Foreign soldiers, royal commands, same families, same empires, different countries, different uniforms, one royal bloodline. So, and you can literally see it right there on the two houses and the crusts. The symbolism is right there, right in your face. And it all means stuff to these people. But to us, we're like, fuck off. We thought we had it till 1776.
It had anything to do with Candace.
When she says that the French Foreign Legion's after her, right? And then to DuPont's, Wilmington, Delaware. It's absolutely plausible. And not only absolutely plausible, the way she's talking about it is exactly how they do it. So, sure, to the average person, it sounds fucking crazy, but to the average person, they're trusting the FBI.
And again, Mike, what about she shifted, wasn't it yesterday? It's to not the DuPonts, to some other PR dude.
Well, the Ukrainian Israeli. Well, think about it, Matt. If you wanted to hire a hitman, would you want him to just be French, or would you want him to be French, Israeli, British, German?
Throw it out. What I'm saying is I actually, when she first said the guy's name was Pierre, and he's a rich guy, and the whole thing started with she heard that there was a donor named Pierre, and there's a Pierre, and he's a DuPont, and her friends were like, hey, you caught that, it's DuPont, and blah, blah, blah. And she was like, oh my God, it's Pierre DuPont, it's Pierre DuPont.
My good friend Luke, welcome to JDS Psychiatric Services with your friend, music. I'm in the next space. It's called Ace Candy Zones Over the Target.
She says it DuPont for some reason. She says it's
DuPont.
If I had a legitimate hit on my life, and I get 7 emails telling me this Ukrainian mercenary, sounds like, with a fake name, shows up down the street, it'd probably scare the shit out of me too, and I'd probably stop talking about the DuPonts and put all focus on this guy.
So now she's changing the narrative because she's scared. So now we can't trust her.
Oh, I don't know.
Listen, I love your thing, but I know that you have your theories, but I just really do believe if someone wanted Charlie taken care of, they would call a black ops guy who was a trusted operator, and they would just send them a picture, and they would just say, get it done. It wouldn't be hundreds of people involved.
But do you think it'd be a good thing to do now, though?
But also consider the fact, sure, it could have been hundreds of people, but over the course of 16 years, how many people would have had to have actively collaborated, worked with the stated intent to, and still somehow managed to maintain secrecy of the JFK assassination?
Every country you can think of.
No, the thing would have been that it was taken care of, and then certain people in the higher ups decided to keep it on the hush-hush because it would make the CIA look bad. But really, it could have been one CIA commander made a call, maybe 1 or 2 people involved. And, I just thought, and keep in mind, this is the president of the United States. Charlie Kirk, I know people said he was going to run for president. Honestly, I don't think he would have become president. I do think he had the ear of the youth, but I don't think he really rose to the level of an international leader who was about to shut down the Federal Reserve and create banknotes and destroy and shatter the FBI into 1,000 pieces. I just really think if it was Macron's penis, they would have just made a call to a friend, and they would have had a guy take care of business. This is not something that would be that hard to do. They could have taken him out in San Diego when me and Luke were there. They had the exact same opportunity. It didn't have to be that moment. It didn't have to be that day. They could have just followed for a little while, waited, took the shot. Simple as that.
So you're saying they made a show of it on purpose?
I'm sorry, what's that?
You're saying they made a show of it on purpose, you think?
Yeah, I'm going to say firm. I think they wanted to shoot him, on purpose, but they could have shot him, in San Diego. Ask Luke. Where we were in San Diego, there was people on the roofs. I remember saying to Luke, I'm like, are those our guys or their guys? Who's on the roof? Yeah, but it was horrible during those days. It would have been just as easy in San Diego, and he was on TV. It could have happened anywhere, anytime, on any of these campuses. During that time, any operator could have just followed him for a couple of times and went, this is my time, I'm taking the shot. Done.
Yeah, but it wasn't opportune at that moment because he was still I call him Charlie Cock at the time because he was fully in the back pocket of the
Sure, but I just don't think it needs hundreds of people to sit down and say, okay, he crossed the line. Did he cross the line? Call the homeboy, call the French. He crossed the line. He did this. Call those. Call the Egyptians. Tell them to rent a hangar. Follow fucking Candace around for a few years. Have them stalk her here. Have them do this. Send in these guys. Send in those guys. Cover this. It's like so many people involved. I just think the larger and larger it gets, the less plausible it gets. That's all.
Well, I don't think we're going to get answers from our government because we're incapacitated. We can't get answers. JFK, MLK, Malcolm X, RFK,
So, yeah. If I can take the interjection here just real quick to spit out the next bullet point because it's very relevant to what you're just saying. In 1910, right? In 1910, people were discussing secret drafting of the Federal Reserve Act by Nelson Aldrich, Rockefeller-in-law, Paul Warburg, Piot Chandru, Frank Vander Eyck, Henry Davidson, Morgan, and Benjamin Strong. Jekyll Island, that's where they sealed the fate of the Titanic and the three opposition, the other three. I think their names are coming up. I can do a quick search, but thank you. I yield.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I would implore you to look into that history a little more. Of what I'm seeing versus what's actually in there on archives is not matching up. So, 1913 is also when the Kingsbury Agreement. AT&T is forced to give up its, long lines to foreign companies.
The 16th Amendment. That was the year the 16th Amendment was ratified. The income tax. So now you know why they had to do that. So, to make sure that money was going to go where it's supposed to.
I do have to agree with you, though, Michael, on the whole Foreign Legion thing. It's kind of, people might think that sounds weird, but if you put it in the perspective of just modern day contractors, the so-called contractor, the federal government and the military, whenever they want to run ops that they don't want to get, like something goes wrong, they don't want to be like, oh, that was our guy. If something goes wrong, they just go, yeah, we fired those guys. We're not using those guys anymore. Exactly. The chain of command doesn't go all the way up. And mercenaries and Heshings and foreign, military government. Maybe go back to Game of Thrones, literally, which is all really about. And you'll see that they have hired armies and queens that have armies that work for them, and they do deals to get power and control over things because they command armies, and basically, so that does make sense.
But I would say also like getting the Jew king to your bidding, right? Because if he gets caught in privateer or you're funding wars, the king's Jew.
There was literally a bill I watched the other day. It was like a CSI type thing, but basically a guy in Texas had ordered to get this hooker murdered because he didn't want his wife to find out because they were trying to run a scheme and basically extort him for like $50,000.
How many million people did he involve in hiring a hitman? Like back in the day, like the American president.
He went to a privatized group, right? And so that privatized group didn't have just one person go. They had multiple people that ended up going. So, who knows where that information or who they're passing it to that could potentially spread to be more than 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people.
Back in the day when the JFK, before the internet, before the cell phone, before everyone had a camera on them, before everybody was a journalist, before anyone could disseminate information, sure, guys with cigars could sit around and be like, I think he's done. We can't deal with this anymore. I like the deal. Make the call. And yeah, they may have talked about it because they all were, and also they were infiltrated by a bunch of foreigners and stuff like that. They were good old boys and they got the job done and they decided to cross the line. It was like a mafia. But nowadays, everyone knows, like, the more people you involve in a conspiracy like this, once you involve the number of people that Candace has involved in this, there's no way someone hasn't blown the whistle or spilled the beans or doesn't have the info. There's just, once you get up to hundreds of people, it's just not plausible.
Yeah, you can look at it both ways. I think that the fact that we have the ability to have the conversation is like the most important thing, right? Like we don't have to agree on everything. I don't agree with everything Candace says. But I just think she's pointing the needle in the direction that will allow more people to understand how this has worked historically, and the deeper power structures that still capture and control our corporate, private, education, all of those things. But we'll go to Marie.
I agree. I just fear that she's going to take people away from the crime scene and from the actual facts of the case and just spiraling off into who owns hangers and playing land to that. It's just
when the case does play out, right? Are you going to trust the Father Robinson narrative or anything that the court tells us?
I mean, have you been following me? I've made multiple videos about it not being tolerances. Multiple videos about all multiple.
So where do you go then? Like, if you are Candace?
Well, I'll tell you what you do is she has enough people. She can have a protest around UVU or around any of these agencies and say, we demand these photographs. We demand this. We demand that there be no plea bargain. I mean, you got Bannon saying there isn't going to be a trial. There's going to be no rematch. I mean, there has to be. The American people absolutely must demand that there be a trial. Because if they have the weapon, they have the gun, and they have the pictures, all the things they say they actually have, then it's case closed. And the idea of giving him some, oh, if he really is the guy, then why would you go, we don't want to go too hard on him? We demand to see the evidence. We demand to see that. We demand to see the cameras. We demand to get him off. If it really isn't him, number one thing is get him off. Because the minute they convict him, then the people can go along just like JFK forever and ever arguing about the facts. But once the actual physical apparatus has pinned it on a certain person, then for all intents and purposes, the case is closed. So if you can prove it isn't him, demand to talk to him, demand to speak to the guy, demand to ask what he has to say. Why can he not talk to the people? Why can't he talk to the public? Does he have rights? Is he an American citizen? Why can't we have a fund for his legal fund? Like, these are things that we could be doing to actually get to the bottom instead of spiraling out into an infinite number of fractalized concepts that are weird but not actually getting to the root of the problem.
It's because they're running out the clock, Matt. That's the real answer.
And I agree getting to the bottom of it, but if we do it in the form of seeking emotional justice before objective justice, we're going to wind up in the exact same spot in points of history that we've been before. So my thought on this, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think both of you are right. And I don't think that everybody was fully right at the same time. I think that we're in a situation where if we're looking at the kings of propaganda that have come through the British and Israel and different things, they're very good at playing both sides and feeding.
Why can't the people talk to Tyler Robinson? Why can't we talk to him? Why can't nobody talk to him? How come there's been no word?
Well, and
Patsy, no word. I'll let you go. I'm not sorry, but every one of these Aurora shootings, this shooting, that shooting, they basically have these guys drugged up. They come out with red hair and they have a blanked out stare by the time they come out. This guy was an honorable student. Like, he should be able to speak.
We're actually proving my point. We're proving my point. A lot of this is to stimulate the seeking of emotional justice so that the public loses its mind one direction or another, and then they'll switch hats and start feeding the other side. This happened all through Weimar Germany, up into Nazi Germany, through World War II. It's happening now in Portland, Oregon. That's probably the greatest example I can give. ICE, the National Guard, go up there and they start removing the homeless, and then everything kind of disappears, and a week later, there's people wearing MAGA gear and MAGA hats, except they still have the tactical helmets with the GoPros, and they're, quote, now suddenly helping ICE and National Guard round up the homeless and the immigrants, and ICE and National Guard are telling them to go home. That's Antifa. And Antifa, since 1897, has been the driver for these elites, for the British, for the Bolsheviks, for Israel, and they've been paid to play both sides. And so when I remember
we were to focus our intention on hearing from Tyler,
which I fully agree.
Instead of scrambling around on who's a Fed, who's not a Fed, and whether the gun was or the gun wasn't. If we really believe that the number one thing to do is to analyze the actual supposed criminal and give him the actual rights that are supposed to be afforded under whatever whacked out freaking court system I'm sure Michael can tell you about.
I'm like 94% convinced that he doesn't even exist. So that's
and I agree with Matt
Matt's point, like logically, and Matt, you seem like a very objective person, right? And that's really the big difference between what we're dealing with the right and the left, or the red and the blue, is we have a certain mass that's very subjective. They're going to react emotionally. It's going to be about how they feel. And then you have people that are like, well, these are my feelings, but my feelings don't come first. I want the objective facts. And that you seem very objective. So to have people in that pool, they're like, let's just talk to them and let us use our discernment, or let them have a voice so that we can get to the root of this. That would be an ideal thing. The problem is, because of propaganda and the way that they have created wars, like we go back to the Civil War and Abraham Lincoln, the British were supplying the South at the same time forcing the end of slavery, because they wanted to bring us to our knees. They had an 87-year-old garage at that point.
How we focus our intention on it's the amount of energy we put into whether it was a 30-06 or whether Candace's event or Ian's event or Nick's event. If we were all to say, like, we want to get to the bottom of this, and no offense, if you want to talk about emotional things, I don't know which side you are on the. I'm not even.
I'm like hardcore objective. I want the facts.
So
right?
I feel.
Oh yeah.
I feel 99.9% of the time is I feel this and I think that, and it makes me feel I'm not happy. And I'm so tired. And I'm
the way I look at it,
that's the way we deal with shit.
Because the way I look at it,
the problem is to get to the bottom.
If I may, the way I look at it is there's a couple of options. Humanity has been trained to respond this way almost systematically. So one of the options, whether I believe it's effective or not, it is proven if you saturate. If you saturate, propaganda has a very hard time to continue to exist. And I tend to think, and this is a subjective, I tend to think that that's where we're at in this position, is that saturation is going to cause people to be more objective and to be more like-minded like you or like me. I really don't care about how it makes me feel. I just want the fucking facts. I don't want the propaganda. I don't want the runaround. But the only way that I could go and see that was to kind of pull back and say, where are they playing both sides? And what they wait for is emotional justice. And so if you think about the reaction to Charlie Kirk's death, it was, especially for the youth, there was a huge drive initially for this large emotional justice seeking. By their playbook, they could have had us fall the balls. There wasn't anyone willing to question anything. They wanted his head. And so I get the point of the frustration of like the people that don't need that. We just want the objective facts. But I also get the point that if you're going to decrease that emotional justice, one of the effective ways is to do it through information saturation. That can actually cause discernment in the focus saturation. So focus saturation, yes, I agree.
Let's get the cameras. Let's hear the facts. We need to have the trials instead of spiraling around. If we just stuck with those three things, we talk to Tyler, get the cameras, and I forget what the third one was, but basically, go to the scene of the crime, get the actual physical evidence, talk to Tyler, get the cameras, and just get to the basics.
Now is how you're very appropriately focused on the topics that we've got posted on the space about it being, what happened with Charlie Kirk and Candace Owens' perspective and everything. But what I don't think you're hearing is that Marie is bringing a higher level of abstraction. It's not about any one given topic. It's not about the Charlie Kirk assassination.
I understand. I'm going to leave here in a second, but she's saying we need to get over the emotional thing. And at the same time she's being emotional, I'm just saying focus, and we'll get it done.
And you are trying to get
I love you guys. I gotta go.
Thanks for wasting our time. And characterize things through your own framework, and this is going to be appropriate for anybody, whether it's in this space, whether it's in a conversation with somebody in line at Starbucks or at church, wherever it is. What we have been programmed into collectively is viewing things through a certain lens does not allow for the perspective of others or the possibility of additional information, whether that is from history that has been forgotten and rewritten, whether that is from information that used to be scientific and is now considered to be satanic, whether it is, fill in the blank. And so what I think we need to come back to and remember above all is that your perception is valuable, and it is not a matter of is something emotional or something objective. You have to recognize that there is a balance in all of that. And I think, Marie, that's more what you were getting at, if I heard you correctly.
Yeah, and it really, as long as we're the pendulum, our perception is the prize. They are constantly looking to control our perception. And we want to name the cabal, which Michael Corey and Vsauce did amazing. I mean, the digging on the British and the royalties and the crown is just phenomenal out of these two continuously. But, okay, let's go find them. So, what I'm saying is they are very efficient. They don't really, they have an idea of which way they want to turn out, but they'll play both sides. They'll capitalize on both sides because the goal ultimately is just like the American Civil War, is for us to just destroy ourselves for their benefit. And as long as we go ahead.
Here's a fun fact. So, speaking of the Civil War, Mike and I were digging in the other day. Just so happens that the South didn't adopt the penal colony in the same way that the English used it. However, they did sublet out or sublease out labor that was without within institutions. So they would actually take prisoners and then sell their labor out to the open market. And that was one of the largest threats to the North market because they had access to low-cost labor in volume because they had so many prisoners. What you got, buddy? Marie, we'll jump back in just a second. Gamblers like throwing gang signs and stuff at me.
He's been waiting forever. No, I take a look at all this and I just think of this all as diversion. And I understand it is important, but we're elected by the people, or we should be. And clearly, right now, our elected officials don't work for us. We all can see that. We all understand that. And I could go in and explain, and you could take a look at any election that has a vote by mail system. At the end of every election, they adjudicate the ballots, and they fix every ballot that is in the wrong ballot style. That is what you see in all the Dominion machines and all that. And if you want to go ahead and fix it and kick them out and have our politicians actually listen to the people, you have to remove them out of the election. And that goes for every cabal group that there is out there, whether it be any of the groups controlling it. And you could go ahead and take a look at the laws that are passed, and you could go through every single one and see exactly when things change. And you could recognize it's happening by the same lawyers working for the same people and then the same subgroups underneath it. You could probably tie one in for each group that you're concerned about. And it's clear how much money we spend at the problems and all that stuff. But what I'm saying is that if we just take, I don't understand, I don't know. That's basically what I'm saying. Anyone have?
It's like that. Sometimes it'd be like that, though. And the election theft thing is going to come out to be like significantly larger than any of us had ever.
Well, you take a look at this last election in Prop 50, right? Prop 50, you had almost every single county in California have one ballot style. The reason why they did that is if they were to actually have recording districts, you would have multiple areas where ballots shifted from one ballot style to another, meaning I mailed you out ballot type number 1, you mail me back ballot type number 2. How did this happen? Well, it happened very simple. is the process. And I'll tell you what the process is. You check all the signatures. Once they're verified, you move them to a slicer. They get sliced open, and you pull all the ballots out. They go through the tabulator. The tabulator counts out each one of those ballots. Now you have two different reports. You have the report of all the ballots that came in, and you have all the report of the signatures. The adjudication process, which is recorded every single election, tells you every time that they needed to move one ballot from one style and move it to another style. That doesn't come from a mess up on the ballot. It doesn't come from the ballot being so wrinkled it needed to be redone. That comes from my only understanding is the only way that this happens is the registrar really screwed up when they mailed out the ballots, or someone during the process steamed open the ballot, switched out the contents, and replaced it. We're going to go into another election with a bunch of these states running elections that are primarily vote by mail. And the same organizations that help out with the migrant process, the same organizations that help out with the homeless process, the same organizations actually decertified our elections. And they're the ones that protected every single time anyone goes against it.
Yeah, well, it's so much worse than that. So it's not even that they're changing out ballots. They're actually accessing back-end data and altering the outcome digitally. That's what they did. Shout out Maricopa County. But we actually have the network maps, the access maps, where it came from, like, all that was mapped out 3 years ago. And
No. I get what the map does say, but I think people are misunderstanding it.
Oh, no, there's no misunderstanding, buddy. Those things are connected to the live internet, and they were accessed live through the internet manually through a relay server in Chile. Like that happened. It was done from Serbia, and it's about as egregious as you could possibly imagine. And not only that, there was a plot that started in at least 2018, probably 2019, and maybe even before that, with a series of certain governors that includes J.B. Pritzker to knowingly create sanctuary cities, import illegal migrants, knowing that it would alter the outcome of the census that would ultimately have an effect on the Electoral College. They've been running this gambit for a long-ass time, and they just got caught.
Well, I'll just tell you this with the tabulator. Like, the reason why I find that a little bit, you need a paper trail. And that paper trail matches with the machines. And I can tell you the adjudication process that every single county did, and they started doing this and they ramped it up. And it's based off of poll site voting rules. I know this because I've worked there for 20 years. I know exactly what we're doing and why you could barely find it. And the reason why they don't want that report out. What people are seeing is the two reports don't match. So what ends up happening real quick is they go, hey, look, we need to pull 400 ballots out of this precinct. We need to pull 300 ballots out of this precinct. We need to pull 300 ballots in this precinct, and we need to add 200 ballots in this one, and so on and so forth. That is done automatically, I bet you, with the new system that they have. Because the way we used to do it, and this is the ballots that you found underneath the table, what ended up happening was during the count, when they counted all the ballots, because they used to be all sorted by friggin' precincts. And when they were all sorted by precincts, they would get rejected if it came back with the wrong ballot type. That number became so big that it was obvious that there was a problem. And when that happened, what they ended up doing over the middle of the night, they ended up counting all those ballots by most likely by just statewide and statewide and federal issues. And that's why every single one counted, because they no longer knew which precinct it was supposed to be. But they knew that ballot was wrong. And so what they ended up doing is counting it instead of making it, basically telling the people what ended up taking place. And so that is why every system uses the same thing, and that's why we separate the signatures from the ballot types. That's why there's an adjudication process that gets manual. Now, if what you're saying is true, then someone at the registrar voter's office basically printed out another stack of paper that would add up to the machine. And that is probably why you can never really prove that out, because it doesn't really work that way.
That's the thing. It was proven, and the evidence wasn't allowed to be entered into court because it was Arizona. But Clay Parikh did a really good roundup on how to hack a machine with a paperclip. Actually, I think it was Nate Penn. Asterisk. I think it was Nate Penn. But there is an astonishing amount of network forensic scans that shows literally every thing that's connected to those networks and where they route back.
No, I get you on that, but the paper trail matches those machines. Yeah. Is that what I'm telling you? Because when I worked there, up to the point that I worked there, that was always the case. There's a paper trail that gets printed out except for 1 year, and 1 year only, and I think that was back in 2006, when the machines did not have a paper trail. Now, do I trust that paper trail completely? No, the paper trail was burnt on the thermal paper. And thinking back at it, we should have never done it that way. We should have done specialty paper where we could track it.
Do you follow the Clinton Foundation whistleblowers by chance?
I tried talking to everyone at one point, and everyone said it was full of it, and now more and more people are coming down to my point of view on this.
Yeah, right. If you got time, quick, we're gonna cycle to another hand quick. Run over to it's CWFBERS is their annual Clinton Foundation whistleblowers. Go to their profile and search Post Office, Pennsylvania. And while you're doing that, because that's gonna blow your mind, the Post Office would not provide the information as to who actually paid for those freight transfers. And what's more interesting, and back in that time, there was speculation that the United States Post Office was moving ballots in post office trucks, but they would actually have the post office truck or the mail service truck, whatever it is, they would have it towed to a location so that there wasn't a driver affiliated with the route, and so that mileage wouldn't accrue on the vehicle, and it would look like it was time for maintenance, but it was actually transporting cargo from place to place on the back of a rollback instead of rolling down the road.
No, and I find that crazy. But I definitely need to look more into that, because I'm not saying every registrar is a good registrar. I believe that there are very corrupt ones and ones willing to go in and take a payday. And I bet you those are the ones that shit got happened to.
Oh yeah, absolutely, and the overwhelming majority of them, unfortunately. John, actually, you know what? John, I'm sorry, ladies first. Marie, circle back around. John will close it out. And I think Mike's phone just rang. He got the call to shut it down. Pretty sure his girlfriend's going to be calling him in like 10 minutes.
No, I got to jump into a meeting, so.
So we'll close out the hands here. Marie, go right ahead. And whichever of you to John, we'll circle back around for closing remarks.
Well, I'll leave this alone till another night. I had a very crazy interaction earlier this year. My license plate kind of started it, and if you want to know what my license plate says, I'll tell you, but it's pretty crude, and I'm kind of over the whole racial thing, so I said, why not make fun of myself? And anyway, if we want to get to that story, we can. It would be quick. It's interesting who the first legal slave owner was in the States to kick off this whole shebang. And I wanted to circle back to something you had said, Sauce, through this election process and the voting machines. You had mentioned with certain governors opening the door for sanctuary cities and the mass immigration that was coming that we all weren't aware of until it arrived on our doorstep. I am really waiting for, as we get through the 2025 general election, that we get to the money part. Because the money part is going to implicate the Catholic Church, the Lutheran Church, and the Jewish people, NGOs. Because those
it gets better. I'm sorry to cut you off, but it gets even better than that. So back when we were doing those network forensic scans into Arizona, we actually discovered an IP ping that triangulated or locally located within a quarter of a mile of a Latter-day Saints temple. Asterisk, just so you know, that actually happened.
Well, and that's another interesting part is if you look at some of the Latter-day Saint Church, they actually operated separate from the entire entity, and they operated as a sub NGO for these three main NGOs. So you have the Jewish people.
And they got body slammed.
Yes.
For running a daggone a pseudo hedge fund without calling hedge fund. It was like 3 years ago. They got tagged for a shit.
Well, these three main ones, just on the premise of immigration alone, what I've been tracking is they all came to the treasurer, and the DHS Mayorkas at the time was basically telling the people, if they come, just don't ask questions, transfer the money. This started under Obama. It really ramped up under Biden after they had him in for the immigration. And they used our tax dollars to fly all of these immigrants to the border. Because if you look at the Trail of Tears, as I nickname it, across the landscapes where these people supposedly migrated, it is impossible to do that in 3 months. It's a 10-month on foot, and good luck doing that with a backpack and a baby. It would have been like a full wagon train. Like these NGOs came and they asked for an average of like $600 billion a piece, and it was transferred from our treasury, no questions asked. But what they also did is there's 16, on average, 16 different sub-NGOs under each of these. And so all of those 48 also came to the government and asked for hundreds of billions of non-profit religious-related monies. And then all of those sub-NGOs end up funneling and laundering the money to these three main. And that money, they used our tax dollars to violate our voting rights. They used our tax dollars to drop these people off at the border. And then further, with the corporations buying the single-story homes, they used our tax dollars to come in and tell those people, kick your renter out that's an American, we'll pay you double to house this migrant. And it's caused all of these crises. So for me, I know we're going to get close when those NGOs start getting implicated, not just with the immigration, like they have, but when they start getting implicated as the funding for the corruption in the voting.
That's correct. And Mayorkas was on the board of governors at first net. By the way, that's an interesting piece of information that a lot of people overlook, and Mike knows why. And I was going to foray into doggone Cradle Point and all of that, but I don't know that that's even necessary.
Own company controls everything you care about.
There's the eye of Sauron.
That's the nuts and bolts of it. But let's jump to John and C11, and then we will wrap up.
Real quick point to what you were just talking about with Latter-day Saints too. Epic rabbit holes is the connection with the family tree services and DNA. Looking into that, who runs and controls a good majority of those operations. It'll blow your mind. Which is a good transition into, I guess, kind of my closing point with the guns turned inwards and international of sorts, because our alphabet soup agencies who are supposed to be protecting the outside from foreign interference, right? Turn the guns inward, and this happened over a long period of time. So pre-JFK, but in modern history, let's just say JFK going forward, and hence his big speech about shattering the CIA into thousands of pieces or whatever. But anyways, what came to fruition in physical form was Charlie Kirk. That was call it theater, call it whatever you want. It was real that a man died, and it was broadcasted. That should be the tell of all tales. It's good to think international, but don't forget international is dealing with trade, state among state, and we can't forget that aspect of how that plays a role into things of foreign interference. And look here, not there, because the narrative shifts to foreign nations, international commerce, versus inside international trade amongst states and the nation states, right? And on the American side. And I really wanted to say that because it's fascinating hearing the words district and registrar. And if you start researching terms based on these specific entities, and Gsaw's great point as far as the post, by the way. I mean, that's epic, because how does the UPU, Universal Postal Union, tie into international and that?
John, we don't have time to talk about quantum gravity. Don't get me wrong, Russell Tate right now.
No, I know. I'm just saying it's crazy because it brings like a global aspect into constant internal affairs, and we think our counties are one thing and our states are one thing, but we really got to look at the big picture of the the system that we're voting in. I think that's a really important part. But anyways,
it's weird you go to the post office to get your passport, isn't it?
Right. And we're supposed to go to the Secretary of State for state IDs, but how does the DMV play a role into this and the DOT? Weird.
Private enterprises create money. Come on.
Exactly. But great space, guys.
C11, we'll go to you and we'll wrap.
Thank you. I'm going to keep it brief. I saw that there are a couple of users with the number 17, and so I will turn to page 17 of my advanced guidance systems to offer some insight. Hands down, the most terrifying movie I saw was a child. The most terrifying movie as a child wasn't any of the horror films I watched. It was the trailer for Wait Until Dark. Before I even knew what Redacted and Redacted, I watched Redacted between Peter Finch and Murray Head in Sunday Bloody Sunday. I wasn't shocked, I was confused, but I was shocked by the Redacted and Redacted between Alan Bates and Oliver Reed in the trailer for Ken Russell's Women in Love. I also got the gist of the terrifying implications of male subjugation in the trailer for the prison drama Fortune and Men's Eyes. And for some reason, I found that the trippy trailer for Frank Zappa's 200 Motels frightening. Was there any movie back then I couldn't handle? Yes. Bambi. Bambi getting lost from his mother, being shot by the hunter, and a horrifying forest fire upset me like nothing else I saw in the movies. It wasn't until 1974 when I saw Wes Craven's The Last House on the Left that anything came close. Now those sequences and
Hi, Mr. Sheet. I just wanted to bring up something very quickly to the Somalian community. You can't claim to be part of the FBA community or masquerade behind black excellence when you act like the stereotype. A racist from 1961 would literally, this is what you are, his wet dream. All you do is scam people, you scam welfare, you're not honest, you steal everything that you touch, and then you want to just go back to your country. You are the stereotype. So all I'm saying is, Mr. Desheed, you can't claim to be part of the community and then act 100% worse, 150% worse than the stereotype. I yield my seat.
There you go. Thank you so much. Right. Mr. John, hop on in, sir.
Hey, Tariq, I don't know you that well. So that former speaker, that was a roast, a barbecue. I don't know. Do you feel burned? Do you want to pass me the barbecue sauce?
Yeah, man. It was very interesting. Very, very interesting. What located, John?
I'm running for Congress in Illinois. I live in Chicago. It sounds to me like that former speaker was accusing you or other people of possibly being a part of Clown World. And, it's my belief that the greatest threat to America is not the Jews and Israel or Europe and NATO or Russia and Putin, but it's the Clown World citizens of America. It's the Clown Americans everywhere at every major agency, every major corporation. I'm not a disgruntled white person, who has had his job taken away and given to some H-1B visa. I'm just saying that it's my opinion that there's a lot of really brainwashed, maybe sincere people, but, all communication is hypnosis. And when this campaign is over, either I'm going to open up a psychiatric facility for people who have Jewish derangement syndrome or have cell phone addiction, and, are compulsive speakers and are compulsive thinkers and don't read books and don't go to the gym. So
facility for people with Jewish derangement syndrome. And, are compulsive speakers and are compulsive thinkers and don't read books.
Thank you. I don't know what it's talking about. He kind of lost me. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
That was awesome.
Shout out to everybody in there. Cornbread in here. Shout out to everybody in here. Everybody reach the space. We got a lot of folks in here. So we're in here heavy. We're in here heavy, ladies and gentlemen. Respect to the family. But we got to talk about, somebody brought this up earlier, about the coach up in Michigan who got they fired him, Sharon Moore. Everybody's talking about that right now. Sharon, am I pronouncing his name right? I don't really follow sports like that, but I'm following this story. Sharon Moore.
It's funny how if you do want to speak, you have to have a credible profile.
So I need you guys to lock it because obviously if we're just going to be giving stuff away, we're going to be giving the alpha. I'm not even asking you guys to pay me for these spaces, right? Just come in, enjoy it for free, but please let everybody know about it. Let's get this in the algorithm. Let's all grow. I want everyone to leave here with more followers. I want everyone to leave here with higher engagements. And if that's not what you're coming in for, then I am sorry, but you are in the wrong space. You're supposed to go to the other one, and that is fine. You can still hang out, but I mean, obviously you guys are here to grow. So with that being said, just do all of the above, and while you're at it, just smash that post up on the Jumbotron, guys. We're gonna get as many people in that community as possible. And yeah, I'll shut the fuck up now. Miss, why don't you?
My main put my glasses on. So if you read what I need glasses and accept the co-host. I just did. Since I did not. Listen, I'm gonna read to you what I have after I accepted that. So want to help manage this recorded space as co-host. I pressed yes.
Martha, don't you start lying to me. I'm gonna cancel it. I'm gonna send you another one.
Birth rates. So, yeah, lots to unpack, lots to cover. And look, when it comes to like this whole notion of porn, people think that, yeah, it's just temporary, and you mentioned it. Digital prostitution, which is what the main source of it is these days, is up like 50-something thousand %. It's absurd. And there's this notion, you see Venezuela, real man don't care about words fast. I know she's seen that sarcastically. Fast on the internet, so you make stupid decisions, you're gonna win stupid prizes. Your past will stay with you and be a continued stain on your reputation. So this notion of thinking so short-term gain won't have consequences, long-term is delusion. I don't know why you're here, man. Like, what's up? You want to spurg out again? Like, why?
Spur! State Files case number room 1265.
Is one. It's slow right now. Anyway, I have some shit to do, so before we make some noise, run it off at the moment. I want to say, I'll just drop him.
I'm here. I'm not gonna spurg out.
Why do you do that? Like, do you have like some mental problem? Like, you think that the way you communicate is effective? Is that how you're gonna reach your masses and try to achieve getting in
mental problems? I would rather read a book than be here right now. Are you kidding? I want to go study the Torah and go read a book with my rabbi. I mean, I came here to make you guys laugh because you guys are obsessed with Jews.
All you came to say? You're done too? Yeah.
No, I'm not done.
What do you think, you're on FM radio or something? Like,
is this the radio? I called FM 95.5. You're not playing my favorite songs anymore. Everything is Epstein, Epstein, Epstein. Jews, the Jews, the Jews. Israel. Manipulation.
How much money have you gotten yet?
Has Ukraine gotten the $1 billion yet? Has Israel gotten the extra $600 billion? How much more money are we going to send to Ukraine and Israel? Have they gotten their shekels yet? Hold on, you guys. I got a call from my APAC handler. They want me to update my shtick. Please hold.
But you're not even good enough for APAC. Stop being pathetic.
Well, Zelensky is good enough for us. No need to hold open and fair elections in Ukraine. Just send Zelensky another $800 billion.
I double dog dare you to stick your tongue to a pole outside in the winter.
I triple dog dare you to read a book.
Hey, John, I don't know if you saw my most recent post. Zelensky's got an Israeli passport.
Oy vey, it's true. It's a global conspiracy.
Guys, they've been busted for corruption, stealing, and they took off to Israel. What do you think he's going to do? Pull that money he stole, the villas he's bought, those hotel, casino, probably has a brothel too. They won't mention that part. You know, the mayor of Kiev, the town of Vladimir Klitschko, he owns over 100 brothels. Yeah, he's a Jew. So this is what the Jews do. And they're all about pornography. You're going to learn about Samuel Roth. It's funny that not a single U.S. politician cares about degeneracy laws or obscenity laws, is what it is specifically. I don't want to go back and change that stuff to protect the kids, because most of these sites that you carry, well, I don't know if you even care about child trafficking, but they use pornography sites to post videos of child sexuality and child rape. Are you aware of that?
Well, I'm trying to be a little funny. It's getting late. Well, I know Jews own it.
The level of your ignorance is that millions of young girls are on OnlyFans, and it's advertised to them at a young age, and that's owned by a Jew too, named Radvinsky. So you're obsessed with Jews. When you say stuff like that, I name names on every single space.
Have you heard of Yitzhak Rabin?
Episode 120 on the uncensored Epstein files. I'm naming.
Have you heard of Menachem Schneerson?
You sit there and cry with your shitty mic all you like, and I'll just mute you. Anyway, you can bitch on and cry all you like. Take your message wherever, and then you'll basically go find a soapbox somewhere. Maybe someone will listen to you. Why don't you go on South Space? She'll appreciate someone like you. Maybe she'll even help fundraise for you. She's got nothing else to do. She's just a bored, lonely, whatever she is. I don't know. I think she's a divorcee. I don't want to make fun of her person. I don't even care. The point is, maybe you'll get some support over there. Your views may be popular, but here, I expose the Jewish problem, especially when it comes to degeneracy, pornography, child trafficking, because that's what they're all about. That's what they do. That's what they're proud of. So you can sit there and cry and say it's an obsession. No, it's called a concern, a legitimate concern, because kids shouldn't be trafficked. Maybe you're okay with stuff like that. Maybe you're all about child molestation. Maybe you were molested as a child, so you don't care and it's normalized for you. But it's not for me.
Projection alert! Projection alert!
But, so you can call me.
Projection alert!
I'm only brought you up so
Projection
I
alert!
can face what I think. And if you annoy me a little more, I'm just
Projection
gonna drop you.
alert!
Like you did, and then you wouldn't get to listen anymore. You'll have to use an altar counter, whatever it is you fucking do.
Oh, an altar counter. I want to go to bed. I'm tired.
Fuck right off, as far as I'm concerned. This is a serious conversation, and I go out of my way to provide receipts and research for the stuff that I do. A clown like you just wants to distract from a serious message because you want the Jews to get away with their serious platform.
Somebody's a little triggered. Somebody's a little triggered. Are you American?
It's a legitimate concern. The biggest human trafficker and blackmailer, according to Howard Lutnick, is Jeff Epstein. And there's Jews that created the circumstances for guys like Jeff Epstein to thrive in and push child pornography, which he has a ton of. The FBI's got a lot of the evidence, thousands and thousands of hours of child sex trafficking, child rape, essentially, that these politicians have done. So there's every reason in the world to be concerned about stuff like this. The fact that you're not just goes to show you're no better than like a Pierce Morgan that's tolerant of everything. A fucking cuck. And his wife took a 6-week sabbatical from their marriage to go fuck other guys. Guys like you think that's okay though. Hey, that's a woman. That's a woman.
Pierce Morgan's wife was a fucking.
Hand her a tampon when she needs it. You're that guy who'll make breakfast for your wife's boyfriend the next day. That's how you sound when you talk. A fucking simp.
It's kind of good though.
It's the way you're going.
It's a good run.
So either man up, find your balls. Maybe you do some testosterone injections so you don't sound like a high-pitched little bitch. And maybe someone will take you seriously, because for now you're just a big joke. So it's been fun. I have a few things to do. And if you piss Joanne off, for bullshit, and she's got her judo on, you're just going to get dropped like a bad habit. I'll leave it there. Go ahead, Joanne.
That was a good roast. I like self-deprecation.
He got muted on his own. That was amazing. He stands for nothing. That's why no one supports you, John.
That's projection, bitch.
John, you're gonna get one vote.
That's all projection. When you told me that I was raped and molested by a family member, that's projection. When you say nobody's gonna vote for me, I'm a loser, that's projection. This is the projection show. You guys have an unincorporated shadow self. Go study C.G. Young. Read a book. Try to do an education room instead of wasting your life talking about a dead guy.
This is literally an education room.
This is a political room, you schmuck. This is politics. This isn't education. Go read your Bibles. Turn your phones off. Am I the guy from Network?
Settle down with somebody. Male, female, whatever.
Male, female. Are you accusing me of being a homosexual, sir? I love pussy. And if you don't love pussy, you're like Milo Yiannopoulos and Nick Fuentes and maybe Tim Pool, because I don't think Tim Pool's wife is giving him any. Otherwise, he wouldn't be making fake news reports about people shooting at his house.
Which bar do you frequent, John?
There's no alcohol. I'm in Illinois. I'm running for Congress here in Illinois. I have no alcohol. This is pure energy, pure spirit. Because when Jewish derangement syndrome and Jew hate becomes the topic of every night's conversation, you might be a schmuck. Go read a book. Go to the gym. Do something with your life.
We fucking despise that. The despise is put into every fucking episode, but you are too ignorant and retarded to figure that out. Okay?
That's like your opinion or something, dude, and that's projection.
Top 10 things, John, since you're Congressman. Did you rank or not? Top 10 things.
That annoy me about Chicago? Well, first of all, Brandon Johnson, our mayor, is a communist from the Chicago Teachers Union who doesn't know simple mathematics. He's the dumbest human being you've ever met. And we live in clown world. Well, sometimes you gotta play the fool to help convert people to become the sage. I'm just saying, if you've never studied the Torah and you've never read a book, you might be low IQ and your LLM brain might not have enough vocabulary in it to understand the gravity of the situation.
That people like you do the same as people before you. That you can be
brothers in Chicago.
Just doing a couple things. John, you got maybe a few minutes. Take advantage. You're not going to have enough space. It's going